Chapter 2012 Arrival. In the boundless darkness, there was a flash of lights in Abysmal Saint Master's eyes. Then, there was instantly a darkness storm that covered the body of Silver-Winged God Mansion Master. Abysmal Saint Master had already started using his way to question Silver-Winged God Mansion Master forcefully while Jian Wushuang and the other two members watched. However, just as the four of them were questioning Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, there were 6 figures that arrived simultaneously in the void near the estate. The 6 of them were 4 males and 2 females. They were led by a brawny, bald man who was only 5'3". The spacetime in front of us is completely sealed off. No wonder Silver-Winged God Mansion Master didn't respond even when I sent him a message personally, a scrawny elder dressed in black said. The elder in black was the state leader where Silver-Winged God Mansion was located. It seems like we are slightly late. It is impossible for us to set up a trap ahead of time. We can only fight against them head-on and kill all of them, an old lady in a red robe said with a cold voice. She looked around and asked, "Have you gone through the information of the 4 intruders?" Of course, the others nodded beside the brawny, bald man. Among the 4 of them, Abysmal Saint Master is the most powerful one. As for the other 3, their power is more ordinary. There is even one who is only in early-stage chaotic realm. With our team formation, it shouldn't be easy for us to kill them, the old lady in a red robe said. Don't belittle the early-stage chaotic realm. It was a hoarse voice. The one who spoke was the bald man. Then there was a malicious smile in the corner of his lips. He added in a deep voice, "According to the information we have, this person who is named Sword Emperor in early-stage chaotic realm, his true fighting power is not any weaker than a peak chaotic realm. To be able to match against peak chaotic realm and early-stage chaotic realm level, all of us do not have the same power." The other 5 nodded at the bald man's remark. They didn't belittle Sword Emperor though. If Jian Wushuang and his members were to hear their conversation, they would be surprised. Because not only did they know how many of them would barge into 3 Emperor World, but they also know who the people were. On top of that, they obtained information about the 4 of them long ago. One should know that only the great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance knew which 4 were going to be members of the expert troop to barge into the Dark Millstone. However, the people behind the Dark Millstone obviously knew, and they knew in detail. Alright. Let's not waste time. Let's do it. I will set up a great formation around here so they couldn't escape. However, there's one among them who is good at spacetime skill. She should be able to flee from my formation if she is given enough time. Hence, you have to fight a quick battle, the old lady in a red robe said. The others nodded. The few of you go ahead first. I will take a look. The bald man was the only one who smiled maliciously. The other 5 had no comment about that. Swoosh. The 5 figures moved simultaneously. In the magnificent estate, the Silver-Winged God Mansion Master looked terrified and hopeless. He stood there as his gaze became empty gradually. Although he was in middle-stage chaotic realm, also an Emperor God level expert, he wouldn't last long before the fighting power of 4 Great Emperor alone, especially when Abysmal Saint Master pulled some magical tricks. He presented everything that he knew on a silver platter. Jian Wushuang and his troop finally received a piece of important information from Silver-Winged God Mansion Master. It was the existence of the Imperial Cabinet. 3 Emperors' World had broad territories, 12 states, 84 God Mansions and 1,300 regions. It was already well known. But in actual fact, on the top of the pyramid in 3 Emperors' World wasn't the 12 states but the Imperial Cabinet. The Imperial Cabinet was the true ruler of 3 Emperors' World. It equaled a monarch of an ordinary kingdom. However, the Imperial Cabinet had hidden all along but not shown in public. In 3 Emperors' World, only those experts on the peak of the world were qualified to know the existence of the Imperial Cabinet. For example, the 12 state leaders and the 84 God Mansion Masters knew about the Imperial Cabinet. However, there were extremely few experts among the 1,300 region masters who were qualified to know that. Double Dragon region master that they found previously was ordinary. Hence, he wasn't qualified to know the existence of the Imperial Cabinet. According to Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, the Imperial Cabinet controls everything in 3 Emperors' World. For instance, the post of the 84 God Mansion Masters and 1,300 region masters have to be approved by the Imperial Cabinet. As for the 12 state leaders, although they were great Emperor-level experts, they have to receive orders from the Imperial Cabinet. In other words, the Imperial Cabinet is the true core of this world. If we want to know the true secret of this world and we want to find the core of this dark millstone, we have to go through the Imperial Cabinet, Abysmal Saint Master concluded. Where is the location of the Imperial Cabinet? And how do we enter the Imperial cabinet? Jian Wushuang stared at Silver-Winged God Mansion Master and asked. Silver-Winged God Mansion Master naturally answered frankly. From his reply, Jian Wushuang and the other members found out the location of the Imperial cabinet and something about the Imperial cabinet. We found out what we needed to find out. Silver-Winged God Mansion Master is useless now. I reckon who wouldn't find out anything new even if we asked, Jian Wushuang said. Abysmal Saint Master nodded faintly and the boundless darkness immediately formed a huge hand and hovered over Silver-Winged God Mansion Master. In an instant, Silver-Winged God Mansion Master was killed. After that they were prepared to leave. But suddenly, oh no! Great Emperor Ji Luo's face changed. Someone barged into the spacetime that was sealed off. Great Emperor, and there are more than one. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Emperor Jiu Qiao were shocked. They found us so quickly? Abysmal Saint Master's face grew in distress. They are really fast, Jian Wushuang commented too. They entered Three Emperors' world through the Dark Millstone previously. As the great formation around the Dark Millstone was controlled by someone, they definitely know that someone invaded. The person should also know their rough location. It was normal that the person immediately sent experts over to kill them as well. But Jian Wushuang and his troop never expected the person would be so swift in action. They just entered Three Emperors' world not too long ago. They just obtained some useful information and found out the existence of the Imperial cabinet. Then their enemy already formed a group of experts to hunt them down. This speed and efficiency, let's go. Let's leave. Abysmal Saint Master roared, then the four of them plunged out from the estate and appeared in the boundless void above. Chapter 2013 Hongjun Golden Swords Impac. The moment they appeared in the void, Jian Wushuang instantly noticed the 5 figures charging at them. 5 great emperors? No, there are 6 of them. There is another one at the back. Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated in shock. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Jiu Qiao's faces grew grave. They already knew that there were many experts in Three Emperors' world. The experts of Great Emperor level that they knew of were already as many as 12 of them. From the looks of it, the experts of Great Emperor level were more than that. Otherwise, it would be absolutely impossible for them to send 6 Great Emperors over straight away. Virum. A blurry golden light suddenly soared from the surrounding void and covered the entire universe. *T. These people came prepared. The power of the Grand Formation is exceptional. Even if the 4 of us launch a full-force hit at the Great Formation, I reckon we will only be able to break it after some time. I don't think these people will give us any chance to hit the Grand Formation, Emperor Jiu Qiao said coldly. Ji Luo, do you have any solution? Abysmal Saint Master looked at Great Emperor Ji Luo. Great Emperor Ji Luo was good at the manipulation of spacetime power. In other words, she could use her manipulation of spacetime power to bring them out. Sure, but it'll need some time to prepare, Great Emperor Ji Luo replied. If so, we have no choice but to fight them, Abysmal Saint Master said. Jian Wushuang's face was cold as he glared at the 6 people in front of them. The 5 people in front were fine, but the beast-like bald man at the back put him under great pressure. However, the bald man didn't seem to plan on attacking in the first instance. It was merely the 5 great emperors who were charging at them. The 5 great emperors were billowing with murderous intention as they glared at Jian Wushuang and his troop. Just as they charged over, they locked onto their respective targets. Abysmal Saint Master, who was the most powerful, was fighting against 2 great emperors. The remaining 3 great emperors were fighting one-on-one. Ziqin, you shall take care of Sword Emperor, the old lady in a red robe assigned. No problem, the purple-haired young man with purple eyes named Ziqin replied. The young man wore a malicious smile as he looked at Jian Wushuang. I heard that one of the most impressive skills that Sword Emperor has is Hongyun Golden Sword. Hee. Both parties, a total of 9 experts of Great Emperor level, instantly fought together. The moment they fought, the terrifying power swept out in all directions and shook the universe. Jian Wushuang looked cold. He gripped Blood Mountain Sword tightly with 2 hands and wielded his sword when he almost met the purple-haired young man with purple eyes. A sword light swept out. Burble. A brilliant sword river appeared from nowhere and it was enchanting. Your swordsmanship is not too shabby, the purple-haired young man smiled and swung a stroke. The stroke left an evil purple strike in the void, just like a purple crescent moon. Dang. There was a deep clanging noise and the purple-haired young man retreated from the impact. It was obvious that Jian Wushuang had the absolute upper hand in the competition of strength. There was a sharp light shimmering in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Just as the purple-haired man retreated, swoosh, 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 swoosh. There were 5 resplendent golden lights that instantly burst out. Every one of the 5 Hongjun golden sword exploded with terrifying speed and power at the purple-haired young man. The purple-haired man smiled maliciously at the sight. He then had golden lights floating next to him as well, a total of 6. The 6 golden lights became 6 resplendent golden light and pierced the void like a lightning. The speed seemed to be slightly faster than the 5 golden lights that Jian Wushuang drove. Da, 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 da. There were continuous clanging noises. The 5 Hongjun golden sword that Jian Wushuang drove collided with the 6 golden lights that burst at him ferociously. As they collided, his 5 Hongjun golden sword had the lower hand. That is. Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated in shock. He stared at the 6 golden lights controlled by the purple-haired man. Among the 6 golden lights there were 6 golden swords. You have Hongjun golden swords too? Jian Wushuang was taken by surprise. His Hongjun golden swords were given to him by the ancient expert Long Qi, who he met in the independent space when he was wandering in the 8th lair. Ever since he had gotten the Hongjun golden swords, they had brought great assistance to him. It was also one of his greatest skills. However, as he fought with the experts from 3 emperors' worlds before him who also used a total of 6 swords, his opponent's Hongjun golden swords were stronger than his in terms of speed and power. He would understand if it was only faster in speed. After all, the purple-haired man was a true great emperor. His comprehension of spacetime doctrine should have reached level 9 in Doctrine Palace, which was higher than his. Hence, the speed of his Hongjun golden swords was of course faster, but the power. Jian Wushuang's power was much stronger than an ordinary great emperor's. When he exchanged blow with the purple-haired man earlier, he had already confirmed that his opponent's power was not his match. However, both of them were using Hongjun golden sword, but his opponents were stronger than his? Could it be? Jian Wushuang thought of a possibility and his heart skipped a beat. I heard that you were good with Hongjun golden swords previously and I was looking forward to fighting with you. I never expected that you were merely driving an imitation of Hongjun golden swords and you could only control 5 at once. This is so disappointing. The purple-haired man looked at him in disdain. As expected, Jian Wushuang instantly understood. He had guessed that the purple-haired man was driving genuine Hongjun golden swords. As for his own Hongjun golden swords, they were imitations. Hongjun golden swords imitations were naturally not the genuine Hongjun golden swords match. They were vastly different. It was the reason why the Hongjun golden swords driven by the purple-haired man were stronger in power than Jian Wushuang's when the purple-haired man's power wasn't Jian Wushuang's match. The imitation of Hongjun golden swords is so powerful and it is very helpful to me. If I were to get genuine Hongjun golden swords. There was a flash of greed in Jian Wushuang's eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. He was well aware that it might even be a problem for the 4 of them to leave the place in peace, let alone killing his opponent and taking his treasure on hand. Die, Sword Emperor. The purple-haired man shot a purple light from his eyes. His body was ghostly as he pulled the distance between Jian Wushuang and himself far apart. He attacked Jian Wushuang with the 6 Hongjun golden swords madly while Jian Wushuang dealt with it with his all. Although his Hongjun golden swords weren't as powerful, he could easily block the attack of the opponent's golden sword in collaboration with his close combat power. Chapter 2014. Let me deal with them. Just as Jian Wushuang and the purple-haired man were fighting, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Jiuqiao were fighting with their opponents as well. None of them were exceptions. They all had the lower hand. Especially Great Emperor Ji Luo. She was against the old lady in a red robe. Her opponent used a crimson spear and the bloody aura filled the universe and her fighting power was amazingly terrifying. To begin with, Great Emperor Ji Luo wasn't her match, but Great Emperor Ji Luo had to divert her energy to create a chance to flee during the fight. Hence, she was naturally in more trouble. Just then, the beast-like bald man who stood in the void behind him finally took action. He took one stride and his originally terrifying rage suddenly increased tremendously. The terrifying rage burst out and made Jian Wushuang's face changed. This person. Jian Wushuang immediately looked at the bald man. He felt great pressure from the bald man. Besides Emperor Bai and Emperor 13, no one else in Eternal Chaotic World could give him such pressure. Even Red Dragon King and Abysmal Saint Master, who were in the 2nd and 3rd place on Heaven and Earth's supreme ranking list, wouldn't cause such pressure to Jian Wushuang. There was no doubt that the bald man was very powerful. As he plunged forward, he moved towards Emperor Jiuqiao, who was the closest to him. Virum. There was a flash of light and the bald man appeared next to Emperor Jiuqiao. He suddenly raised his battle axe. Jiu Qiao, be careful. Jian Wushuang roared. What? Emperor Jiu Qiao's face changed. He wasn't considered strong. He was weak among great emperors. The person who he was fighting with shouldn't be weaker than Great Emperor Colored Glaze. He definitely had the lower hand when he fought with his opponent. Then, the bald man suddenly interrupted the battle. Wow! An axe shadow suddenly descended. The axe shadow was black without any sound. Such an axe shadow contained boundless extermination power. Jian Wushuang stared at the bald man and watched the axe stroke that the bald man performed clearly. It was as though he saw all living things in the boundless territories vanish into thin air under the axe. It was a scene of destruction. The axe represented extermination. The axe shadow slammed down. Although Emperor Jiu Qiao was shocked, he moved the stone rod and blocked the axe shadow. There was a loud bang. The stone rod flew off from Emperor Jiu Qiao's hand while the axe shadow continued to hit Emperor Jiu Qiao's body. Emperor Jiu Qiao spurted a mouthful of blood. His face instantly grew pale and his body started falling. With one axe stroke, Emperor Jiu Qiao, who was a great emperor, was severely injured. Die. But the beast-like bald man took another stride forward and slashed his black battle axe once again. It was the same battle axe that contained boundless power and could destroy everything. Emperor Jiu Qiao was already falling uncontrollably and his divine weapon had already flown off from the hip. When the battle axe slashed at him, he had no power to resist. However, right before Emperor Jiu Qiao was going to drown by the battle axe, swoosh, Jian Wushuang appeared before Emperor Jiu Qiao. Jian Wushuang was the closest to the battlefield that Emperor Jiu Qiao was at. Different from Abysmal Saint Master and Great Emperor Ji Luo, they were suppressed by their opponents and they couldn't free themselves from their battle. However, Jian Wushuang could fight his opponent. Hence, he immediately moved as he noticed Emperor Jiu Qiao was in danger. Although he didn't manage to help at the first stroke. Jian Wushuang caught up when the second stroke descended. Then Jian Wushuang held his swords in both hands and wielded them against the extermination axe shadow that was descending. You are courting death. The beast-like bald man roared and the power of the battle axe in his hand increased again. Bang! Jian Wushuang sank from the hit but he didn't spit any blood and he stopped very quickly. He blocked it. The bald man was surprised. Emperor Jiu Qiao, hurry up and run. Jian Wushuang steadied himself and let out a bellow. Then, his figure suddenly retreated to the back as well. Emperor Jiu Qiao of course didn't dare to hesitate anymore. To one side, Abysmal Saint Master and Great Emperor Ji Luo retreated at the same time. The four of them had lost their intention to fight. They had no choice. If there were only the 5 great emperors, the 4 of them could deal with them. But as the beast-like bald man joined the battle, the bald man was too powerful. He had injured Emperor Jiu Qiao with one attack and if Jian Wushuang hadn't gotten there in time earlier, Emperor Jiu Qiao would have been killed by the second stroke. With such a powerful fighting power joining their battles, the 4 of them wouldn't be able to last. However, the golden formation that covered the surrounding void was a huge problem if they wanted to flee. Ji Luo, are you not ready yet? Abysmal Saint Master asked. Already connected to the spacetime in the outside world. However, I will need some time to set up a spacetime tunnel, Great Emperor Ji Luo said solemnly. How long do you need? Jian Wushuang looked at her. 10 breaths, at least 10 breaths. This is presuming no one bothers me. Then I could set it up. I had no time to set it up when I was fighting with the Great Emperor earlier, Great Emperor Ji Luo said. 10 breaths. If it was not a normal time, it was naturally short. When one's power reaches their level, 10 breaths were enough to fight for a very long time. Jian Wushuang took a look at the 6 great emperors behind and his eyes dilated. With the great formation around them, it was impossible for them to escape. The only chance was to let Great Emperor Ji Luo set up a spacetime tunnel. Jian Wushuang made up his mind. Abysmal Saint Master, Emperor Jiu Qiao, the 2 of you help Great Emperor Ji Luo to set up the spacetime tunnel. As for the 6 great emperors, let me deal with them. Jian Wushuang said and turned to charge at the 6 great emperors. What? Jian Wushuang, you? Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Jiu Qiao were stunned. The 3 of them set up the spacetime tunnel while Jian Wushuang would block the 6 great emperors alone? How could he stop them? Is he going to use the secret skill of Star Palace? Abysmal Saint Master thought. From their point of view, Jian Wushuang would only have the power to deal with 6 great emperors at the same time if he used that trump card. However, not only was Jian Wushuang's secret skill of Star Palace his trump card, it was also a huge trump card for their expert troop. They had just entered 3 Emperors' world and he was going to use up the trump card? Chapter 2015 1 verses 6. 6 Great Emperors. Jian Wushuang's face was cold as he stared at the 6th Great Emperor with a billowing murderous intention in front of him. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Jiu Qiao thought he was going to perform the secret skill of Star Palace to fight against them. But in actual fact, Jian Wushuang had never planned to do so. If he performed the secret skill of Star Palace, he might really be able to beat off the 6 Great Emperors. He might even kill a few of them. However, it would take a few thousand years until he could perform the skill again. He had just entered 3 Emperors' world and the danger in eternal chaotic world was just starting to be unearthed. What could they do if there was another drastic change after he performed the secret skill? There was no doubt that the secret skill of Star Palace absolutely couldn't be performed. Moreover, most importantly, the 6 Great Emperors had yet to corner him to that stage. Come on! Jian Wushuang roared and his roar reverberated through the universe. Jian Wushuang's body started magnifying at a terrifyingly fast speed as well. His body increased in size by a dozen times and it became a 100 zhang tall giant. The giant was golden jade-skinned and there were heads and arms that extended from his body. In an instant, it had 9 heads and 18 arms. His 18 arms held a sword each. There was a burst of bloodline power. His huge figure blocked before the 6 Great Emperors. Ancient tribe bloodline? The beast-like bald man among the 6 Great Emperors recognized Jian Wushuang's bloodline in the first glance. Then he smirked in disdain. So what if you have an ancient tribe bloodline? You are courting death if you dare to block before the 6 of us. Kill him. The beast-like bald man took the lead to attack. Rumble. The battle axe descended in heavy darkness. The battle axe slammed. It could break heaven and split the earth. The other 5 Great Emperors next to the bald man didn't hesitate either. They launched attacks simultaneously. There were powerful attacks flying at Jian Wushuang. Abysmal Saint Master and the other 2 members in the void behind saw the scene and they were terrified. Jian Wushuang, what is he doing? Secret skill of Star Palace? Hurry up and perform secret skill of Star Palace. He has yet to perform the secret skill of Star Palace until now. Is he really thinking to fight against the 6 Great Emperors alone? It's impossible. It's impossible. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Jiu Qiao were worried. As they watched him, Jian Wushuang, who had 9 heads and 18 arms, his 9 pairs of eyes were shimmering with coldness. His 18 arms wielded the swords. Virum. There was a shapeless sword intention that suddenly soared and Jian Wushuang seemed to turn into a black hole. A huge black hole that could swallow all power. In the huge black hole, his 18 swords flew out one after another. Sword Principle Shen Luo Mixed Element Spirit. The 6 Great Emperors attacked at the same time and all their attacks were fast and fierce. However, the attacks had yet to hit Jian Wushuang and were blocked by a sword. Dao, 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 dao. There were continuous clanging noises and the attacks by the 6 Great Emperors were blocked by Jian Wushuang. None of the attacks hit Jian Wushuang's divine body for real. How is it possible? The 6 Great Emperors looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Such a unique sword intention. The beast-like bald man was taken by surprise too. The sword principle that Jian Wushuang performed was really strange. It looked ordinary but it blocked all their attacks. The attacks of us 6 Great Emperors are fierce. Even if he could block our attacks with his sword principle, the impact itself should be strong enough to injure him or even kill him. But he is completely undamaged? The purple-haired young man who drove 6 Hongjun golden swords looked shocked. Completely undamaged. Yeah, they could see clearly that although Jian Wushuang had moved backward under the strong impact of the attack when Jian Wushuang took their hits, his aura didn't grow any weaker but his fighting power was maintained at its peak. He took my battle axe hit earlier too and he was fine. The beast-like bald man squinted his eyes and humphed coldly. Sword Emperor's divine body is strange. Let's not bother about it for now. Let's kill the other 3 persons first. Don't let them seize any chance to escape. Okay. The 5 Great Emperors nodded and their figures immediately plunged out. They wanted to go around Jian Wushuang and go after Abysmal Saint Master and the other 2. Jian Wushuang smirked coldly at the sight. The boundless divine power and the power of the ancient tribe bloodline swept out from his body. Ancient God secret skill, moon-picking skill. Virum. Heaven and earth shook. The spacetime around Jian Wushuang's huge divine body was affected. It instantly rumbled. The entire universe and the entire spacetime mercilessly pressed down on the people within the region. The 6 Great Emperors felt the pressure from the surrounding spacetime and their bodies were restricted. Moon-picking skill was one of the strongest secret skills of Ancient God. It was extremely impressive. Especially after Jian Wushuang's breakthrough, his divine power and ancient tribe bloodline power had increased tremendously. When he performed the secret skill again, it even influenced the Great Emperor experts. As the 6 Great Emperors' bodies were pressured by the space-time, Jian Wushuang attacked again. He waved his 18 arms at the same time. Sword Principle Shen Luo Monster Fire on Will. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. There were sword lights that ignored the space-time and appeared before the 6 Great Emperors straight away. Fast, too fast. It was so fast that the Great Emperors were astonished. Sword Principle Shen Luo had 4 moves. Monster Fire on Will was the stroke that focused on speed the most among the 4 moves. The stroke was performed with one's will. Although the 6 Great Emperors were pressured by the space-time, they were trying to get close to Abysmal Saint Master and his troops. However, they had no choice but to stop to block the Sword Principle as it charged at them. Now the 6 Great Emperors were raging with anger. Sword Emperor, as you are really courting death, I shall fulfill your dream. Full force. Kill him first. I don't believe that we 6-peak Chaotic Realm and Mr. Ling Zong can't kill Sword Emperor who is only in early stage Chaotic Realm. Die. The 6 Great Emperors were obviously provoked. From the skills that Jian Wushuang had performed, they might not be able to kill Abysmal Saint Master and his troops if they didn't kill Jian Wushuang first. Hence, there was no need for discussion among the 6 and they made a unified choice. They would use their full force to kill Jian Wushuang first. Chapter 2016 Unkillable. The 6 Great Emperors let their power be in full play, especially the beast-like bald man who was the most powerful of all. His soaring rage was heightened to its extreme limit. He was only holding his battle axe but had yet to wield it. However, it had already concentrated into a terrifying extermination aura. The 6 of them launched attacks all together. Jian Wushuang wasn't angry at the sight. He felt delighted. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Jiu Qiao, the 3 of you should seize this chance. I will hold the 6 Great Emperors back so that they won't interrupt you. Jian Wushuang immediately sent them a message. Now there was madness in his eyes. Behind Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master and the other 2 Great Emperors were dumbfounded at the sight. They originally thought Jian Wushuang had intended to use the secret skill of Star Palace, but hurry up, Ji Luo. Set up the space-time tunnel. Abysmal Saint Master came back to reality first and pressed them. Great Emperor Ji Luo instantly woke up and immediately started to set up the space-time tunnel at the fastest speed possible while Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiu Qiao assisted her. On the battlefield, Jian Wushuang was hemmed in by 6 Great Emperors. Fighting against the 6 Great Emperors, especially the beast-like bald man's mad attack. Although Jian Wushuang's mixed element spirit was magical, Jian Wushuang had just mastered it not too long ago after all. It was impossible if he wanted to fully defend himself and it was inevitable that he would be hit. At the same time, there were attacks that contained boundless power that were constantly hitting. Jian Wushuang looked savage and there was only madness in his eyes. 10 breaths time. I only need to resist for 10 breaths time. Come on, come on. Jian Wushuang roared and his power exploded at that very moment. He was instantly in a pitched battle against 6 Great Emperors. The battle was total madness. Fighting against 6 alone and all of them were Great Emperors. Jian Wushuang obviously couldn't win against them. In the others' views he was courting death. He would definitely die. But in the end, 1 breath, 2 breaths, 5 breaths of time passed. In the 5 breaths' time, Jian Wushuang and the surrounding 6 Great Emperors had exchanged a few hundred blows. There were more than a dozen attacks that hit Jian Wushuang directly and every single attack made his divine body quiver. However, he was fully recovered in the very next moment. After 5 breaths' time, his aura was still soaring and his battle intention grew more intense. Die. Jian Wushuang bellowed. He knew for a fact that he wasn't their match but his 18 arms continued to wield the swords. He tried his best to block all the attacks. The surrounding Great Emperors turned pale with astonishment after 5 breaths' time. How is this possible? How could his divine body be that strong? The 6 of us already hit his divine body more than a dozen times. Even Mr. Ling Zong's battle axe hit him twice. But in the end he was perfectly fine. The 6 Great Emperors exclaimed in disbelief. The divine body that Jian Wushuang put on display exceeded their imaginations. They had never expected that one in early-stage Chaotic Realm could be perfectly fine after being hemmed in by the 6-peak Chaotic Realm fighters. Is he immortal? The purple-haired man with purple eyes who drove the 6 Hongjun golden sword asked in terror. No matter how shocking it was, Jian Wushuang did survive 5 breaths' time under the besiegement and his fighting power didn't diminish at all. He was still fighting ferociously against them. The time flew past, and in the blink of an eye, 3 breaths of time had passed. By then 8 breaths of time had passed. If it was any other great emperor that had gone through the 8 breaths of time, he would definitely be beyond dead under such a besiegement. However, Jian Wushuang was perfectly fine. His divine body wasn't damaged at all. His aura was still at its peak. His fighting power was more powerful, and the battle intention had become even stronger. Monster. The 6 great emperors said the same term together. Just then, Sword Emperor, the space-time tunnel is already set up. Let's leave. Great Emperor Ji Luo, who was in the rear void, sent Jian Wushuang a message. There was a tinge of terror in her voice. It's finally done? Jian Wushuang beamed with joy. Then he smirked coldly and said, I don't want to play with you anymore. Just then Jian Wushuang, who was hemmed in by the 6 great emperors, instantly shrunk his 100 zhang tall body and became an ordinary human cultivator. Simultaneously he wanted to retreat. Want to leave? The surrounding great emperors were furious. How could they just let Jian Wushuang off the hook so easily? Just as Jian Wushuang retreated to the back, he was wearing a bantering smirk. Then he slammed his hand down to the front. 9 Province of the Universe, Yen Province as the seal, was called, Turn Up the Cloud. Rumble. Heaven and earth quivered. There was a terrifying power that swept over like a storm. The 6 great emperors who were chasing after Jian Wushuang looked up into the sky subconsciously. They realized that there was a huge yet magnificent world of mountains and rivers appeared in the sky above. The world of mountains and rivers gave off a mysterious yet ancient aura. Then, one of the lofty continents in the world started descending. The continent was too huge and it contained a terrifyingly strong power. On the 9-province seal and river mountain map, one was stronger than the other seal. Jian Wushuang was performing the 4th seal that could only be performed after he entered the 7th step of inverse cultivation skill, Turn Up the Cloud. The seal, Turn Up the Cloud, was extremely powerful. The 6 great emperors saw the descending lofty continent and they got a shock. When did he set this up? It must have been when the 6 of us were attacking him. I reckon he set this up when we were not paying attention. B*****. The 6 of us were focusing on how to kill him. We couldn't care less about the others, but he set this up in silence. The 6 great emperors were astonished. But it was the truth. When Jian Wushuang was hemmed in, he looked as though he was mad, didn't care about anything and would stop at nothing. But in actual fact he was extremely calm. As for river mountain map, he threw it out silently with the cover-up of his huge body. Hence, the 6 great emperors hadn't noticed at all. By the time they noticed, Jian Wushuang had already saved up enough divine power in the world of mountains and rivers to perform the 4th seal. It was also the route of retreat that Jian Wushuang had prepared for himself. The 4th seal, Turn Up the Cloud. The seal was known to be the strongest attack that Jian Wushuang had on hand. The 6 great emperors in front of him couldn't belittle the power of the attack either. Chapter 2017 The Terrifying Jian Wushuang. Rumble. A lofty continent descended. Be careful. The 6 great emperors looked solemn. He'll take care of this. The beast-like bald man took a stride forward. His body began to change the moment he walked forward. His originally human appearance turned into a beast in an instant. The beast was tall and huge and it had human palms. He was holding a black battle axe. He instantly wielded the battle axe. It flashed past the void like a bolt of lightning. Virum. The descending lofty continent broke from that stroke. A large amount of divine power turned into an ocean of divine power as they flowed out to fill the universe. Jian Wushuang saw and he couldn't hold back his compliment. Amazing! After that, he waved and the world of mountains and rivers in the sky became a scroll painting that fell in his hand. Then Jian Wushuang rid along the boundless ocean of divine power and retreated. Let's go! Jian Wushuang bellowed. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Jiu Qian naturally didn't hesitate but instantly went into the space tunnel while Jian Wushuang followed closely behind. After the 4 of them entered the space-time tunnel, it vanished into thin air. In the void that was covered by the Golden Great Formation, the ocean of divine power finally dispersed. The 6 great emperors stood side by side. Their faces grew grave then. The 6 of us in Peak Chaotic Realm, including Mr. Ling Zong, took action personally. But in the end, we couldn't catch the 4 of them. Forget that there were 4 of them, we couldn't even catch one. Most importantly, Sword Emperor, he is too scary. A great emperor couldn't help but say. Scary? The other great emperors became silent at that remark. That's true. He is really scary. In terms of power, Any one of them could match with Jian Wushuang. Some of them might even be stronger than him. The beast-like bald man Ling Zong could easily suppress him. However, he could only suppress him, not kill him. Jian Wushuang's defense power was too terrifying. Under the besiegement of 6 great emperors alone, he lasted for 8 breaths' time. In the end, he wasn't even hurt. What was that? That was merely the first scary part. The second scary part was Jian Wushuang's calmness. At such a critical moment, he could still set a route of retreat for himself, but he looked as though he were prepared to face death unflinchingly. His defensive power was terrifyingly powerful, just like an unkillable monster. His mind and intelligence was like a monster's too. Such a person. The old lady in a red robe took a deep breath and continued, "Hurry up and report what happened here. On top of that, be frank about Sword Emperor so they know how terrifying Jian Wushuang is. Then remove him from the picture as soon as possible. Otherwise he will definitely become our greatest obstacle in the future." The few other great emperors nodded simultaneously. The beast-like bald man Ling Zong had a savage look in his eyes. "Sword Emperor Jian Wushuang, I remember your name, and it will be merely a matter of time until you die by my hand. I will definitely kill you by myself." Lung Wuxia, the savage man, and the blood man sat in the boundless void. 6-peak chaotic realm took action against the 4 great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance, but they watched the 4 of them escape before their eyes. What's up with this Ling Zong?" The savage man roared, and there was anger in his eyes. "We can't blame them. We took action hastily and only arranged for 6 great emperors to team up for attack. On top of that, our information is inaccurate," the blood man said. "Inaccurate? Were the 4 people who entered 3 emperors' world different, or were their recorded abilities different?" the savage man asked. "The recorded abilities are inaccurate," the blood man continued. "Of course, Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo, Emperor Jiu Qiao are as recorded in the information. Only the Sword Emperor Jian Wushuang was much more impressive than we imagined him to be." The blood man immediately shared the report from Ling Zong and his team. 6-peak chaotic realm, including Ling Zong, besieged Jian Wushuang for 8 breaths of time but didn't hurt him at all. How is it possible? When the savage man heard that, he was astonished. "Although it is unbelievable, Long Zong and the others have no reason to lie to us. Hence, the truth is as such," the blood man said. "Sword Emperor's defense power is this powerful?" the savage man muttered. Just then, Lung Wuxia, who was seated by the side, suddenly spoke. "Maybe it isn't because his divine body is strong, but due to another reason. Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator after all. An inverse cultivator is unusual and entirely different from an ordinary cultivator. He had already broken through to the 7th step of inverse cultivation skill. It might be a new skill that he just mastered." "Inverse cultivator? What inverse cultivator? I have never heard about it," the savage man said with disdain. "Don't belittle an inverse cultivator. Although the inverse cultivator first appeared in the First Era and didn't originate from ancient times, an inverse cultivator is scary. For example, the strongest one who is widely acknowledged in Eternal Chaotic World, Emperor Bai, is an inverse cultivator as well. As for his power, if I were to be rude, I'm afraid even Demon King would not be his match," Lung Wuxia chuckled maliciously. "Not his match? Little girl, you must be kidding." The savage man's gaze grew cold and he glared at Lung Wuxia. One should know that he was a top expert from ancient times. Although he wasn't at the top of the pyramid in ancient times, he was considered one of the best. Although he was restrained in the Second Era and he couldn't put his peak power to full play, he shouldn't have been compared with Emperor Bai from the First Era. "I'm not joking. I have proof," Lung Wuxia scoffed. "Mr. Demon King, you know that Lord Fun from Holocaust Sect has been in seclusion for many years. But did you know why he is in seclusion and has yet to come out from seclusion?" "What?" the savaged man looked. "Because many years ago Lord Fun fought with Emperor Bai and he was severely injured. When he returned, he had to recover in seclusion," Lung Wuxia said. "What? The old man was severely injured by Emperor Bai?" the savage man asked in shock. Then he asked closely, "How about Emperor Bai?" Chapter 2018 Escaped. "Emperor Bai was perfectly fine," Lung Wuxia said. "How could it be?" The savage man looked in disbelief. Lord Fun from Holocaust Sect was also from ancient times. In terms of power, they were compatible. But Lord Fun was severely injured by Emperor Bai and he had to recover in seclusion for so many years. Emperor Bai's power. Before Lord Fun went into seclusion, he once said that Emperor Bai was unrivaled in this era where the universe was restrained greatly. Unless there was any superb existence in the top 10 from the ancient war back then who woke up, they might stand a chance to beat Emperor Bai, Lung Wuxia said. The savage man's eyes dilated in shock when he heard that. The top 10 superb existence from the ancient war? He himself would have to look up to such existence. For instance, Emperor 13 who appeared before. He didn't even have the courage to compete against him back in ancient times. Due to the restriction in the Second Era, he wasn't as fearful of Emperor 13 as before. The reason why Emperor Bai is powerful is because he is an inverse cultivator. Sword Emperor is an inverse cultivator as well. He is naturally extraordinary, Lung Wuxia said. Humph, no matter how impressive Sword Emperor is, we definitely can't let him leave alive as he barged into 3 Emperor world. Although it's a pity that we didn't kill him this time, it's okay. In no time they'll reappear again soon. By then we will have another chance to kill them again, the blood man said coldly. The savage man nodded heavily. Lung Wuxia seemed to be quiet and she didn't comment much, but her eyes were glistening. Jian Wushuang. Lung Wuxia chanted his name in her heart. In a spacious void in 3 Emperor world. Virum. The void was distorted and a spacetime tunnel appeared out of nowhere. Then there were 4 figures that leapt out of the spacetime tunnel. The 4 figures were naturally Jian Wushuang and the other 3 great emperors. The 4 of them finally let out a breath of relief when they arrived in the void. Jian Wushuang. Abysmal Saint Master, Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Jiao Qiao looked at Jian Wushuang simultaneously. There was astonishment, admiration and gratitude across their eyes. Even Abysmal Saint Master, who harbored deep-seated resentment against Jian Wushuang, looked at him as such too. They knew clearly that it was uncertain if they could flee if it wasn't because of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, are you really okay? Great Emperor Ji Luo couldn't help but ask. One should know that Jian Wushuang had been hemmed in by 6 great emperors for 8 breaths' time. They would have been killed long ago if they were to fight for such a long period, but Jian Wushuang, don't worry. I'm okay, Jian Wushuang smiled. He was telling the truth. His divine body was fine, but he used up some divine power. The 6 great emperors' attacks were extremely ferocious, especially the beast-like bald man. The power of his axe was powerful. When it hit Jian Wushuang, his divine body was severely injured, even after the 5 gem weakened it tremendously. However, with the perfect chaotic divine body, he could instantly recover his divine body. Hence he looked perfectly fine all the time. But in actual fact, the earlier pitch battle wasn't easy for him either. Because he had spent almost 30% of his divine power, which equaled the amount of divine power for him to reorganize his divine body. Fortunately, the besiegement only lasted for 8 breaths of time. If it were to have been dragged on longer, his divine power would be completely used up in at most 20 breaths' time. Without divine power, his divine body couldn't be recovered in an instant. My defensive power is a little weak. Although I already have 5 gem armor, I didn't have any defensive secret skills. The immemorial celestial body. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glowing. Immemorial celestial body was the strongest defense secret skill of the ancient tribe. Once he cultivated the first volume successfully, my divine body would improve tremendously. By then, the damage that he would have when he underwent a similar besiegement would be much smaller. In other words, the divine power spent would naturally be less and the rate of survival would increase. It was a pity that he was slightly behind for the secret skill. Jian Wushuang. There was a low voice. The one who spoke was Abysmal Saint Master. Jian Wushuang looked at Abysmal Saint Master and he could see Abysmal Saint Master's expression looked rather complicated. He shared great resentment with Abysmal Saint Master. But then, it could be said that Jian Wushuang had saved Abysmal Saint Master. I, Abysmal, have never owed anyone any favor. Today you did a favor for me. From today, no matter what happens in eternal chaotic world in the future, I will never make trouble with you, Abysmal Saint Master claimed. Oh. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and then he nodded faintly. He had never really liked Abysmal Saint Master and they had been feuding. However, the grudges they had held against one another weren't serious. After all, Abysmal Saint Master had never really hurt him. Then they were assigned to be in the same troop. Could be said that their lives were tied on the same string. Hence, they naturally had to lend a helping hand to one another. We just went through a ferocious battle. Let's find a place to rest up first, Jian Wushuang said. The other 3 great emperors nodded. During the earlier battle, Abysmal Saint Master and Great Emperor had been fine, but Emperor Jiao Qiao was severely injured. Then, the 4 of them had immediately found a place to rest up. Emperor Jiao Qiao shared what had happened with Emperor Bai and the other higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance via his doppelganger. When the great emperors heard that the 4 of them had been attacked by 6 great emperors, they were terrified. They only relaxed when they found out that they had fled successfully. At the same time, they were astonished at the ability that Jian Wushuang had displayed. He hadn't died even though he had been hemmed in by 6 great emperors. Besides Emperor Bai, there was no one else among the great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance who were capable of doing the same. Then they had finally understood why Emperor Bai would pick Jian Wushuang to join the expert troop. It was not only because he was in a lower realm and easier to carry out tasks, but it was also because his unique ability to take attacks and being unkillable were extremely useful to the expert troop. For instance, it was because of Jian Wushuang's capability that the expert troop had headed off a disaster. Jiao Qiao, tell Abysmal Saint Master and Jian Wushuang to take the time to visit Imperial Cabinet after you recover. The Imperial Cabinet should be where the deepest secret of the Dark Millstone is. It is highly likely that it is where the ways to control the Dark Millstone and the surrounding Great Formation are stored. Yes, Emperor Jiao Qiao nodded solemnly. Chapter 2019 Suppress. In Three Emperors' world, Jian Wushuang and the 3 great emperors had rested for more than half a month. Jian Wushuang's divine power had been completely recovered. As for Emperor Jiao Qiao, he had a large amount of treasure, including some extremely precious elixirs. Hence, he had almost recovered completely as well. Then the 4 of them set out again. According to the route that we found from Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, the 4 of them departed to Imperial Cabinet straight away. From Silver-Winged God Mansion to Imperial Cabinet, the journey was quite far. The 4 of them were very careful and they wouldn't get into any trouble on the way. They didn't make any stopover, but they had used a year's time to get to their destination. This is Imperial City? The 4 of them stood in the void as they looked down at a huge city in front of them that was engulfed in a great formation. The city was located in the deepest end of the vast ocean. Its location was extremely remote. If there weren't Silver-Winged God Mansion Master route instructions, it would be difficult for the 4 of them to find the place. According to Silver-Winged God Mansion Master, Imperial Cabinet is located within the Imperial City. However, the Imperial City is a place where all elites in Three Emperors' world gather. It is widely known as a cultivation sanctuary. Every cultivator from all over Three Emperors' world would figure a way to enter the Imperial City. On top of that, any experts who are above chaotic realm level are qualified to enter the Imperial City, Great Emperor Ji Luo continued. Speaking of which, besides Jian Wushuang, any one of us would catch the attention of any experts from Three Emperors' world as soon as we enter the Imperial City, Emperor Jiao Qiao said. The 4 of them became silent. They had found out previously that Imperial City was completely engulfed in a great formation. They could only enter the Imperial City via the ordinary entrance. However, the expert troop with 3 great emperors would definitely catch the attention of the higher-ups in Three Emperors' world if they were to enter directly. It was no different from walking right into a trap. Ji Luo, can't you think of any way to enter Imperial City? Abysmal Saint Master asked. No. Great Emperor Ji Luo shook her head and replied, if we were in Imperial City, which is within the formation, I might have been able to find a way to create a space-time tunnel that ignored the Great Formation after given time to study. But it would be impossible for me to ignore the Great Formation to enter the Imperial City. On top of that, even if I could, would you dare to enter just like that? Abysmal Saint Master was stunned. That was true. Imperial City was the supreme sanctuary in Three Emperors' world. There were countless experts within and there were definitely many great emperor-level experts. Even if they entered the Imperial City in silence, the great emperors in the city would most likely notice them. Every way doesn't work. What should we do? Unless the 3 of us stay outside and let Jian Wushuang enter Imperial City alone? Emperor Jiao Qiao couldn't help but say. Then Jian Wushuang suddenly spoke, I have a solution, but the thing is, the 3 of you will be put to great inconvenience. I wonder if the 3 of you are willing to. Go ahead and share. The 3 great emperors immediately looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took out Blood Mountain Sword and put it before the 3 great emperors. What do you think of my sword? The 3 of them looked at Blood Mountain Sword and Abysmal Saint Master answered, the sword is powerful. It could be considered extremely strong among chaotic divine treasures. I can feel that it has a great space for growth. However, what does this sword have to do with what we are talking about? Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Jiao Qiao were confused too. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, it seems that even Abysmal Saint Master can't tell. To be frank with you, my sword is not only an attack divine weapon, it also possesses suppress power. Suppress? This sword is a suppressing treasure? The 3 great emperors were shocked. Suppressing treasure was extremely rare in eternal chaotic world, but it did exist. However, suppressing treasure had a unique aura and it was easily determined. Some could even tell if a suppressing treasure had any expert suppressed within. However, when Jian Wushuang took out his sword, none of them could tell or feel any suppressing power. Sword Emperor, do you mean you want us to stay in your sword until you bring us into Imperial City? Great Emperor Ji Luo asked. Yes. However, it will require the three of you to go through some inconvenience. Plus, there are factors that three of you should understand. Hence, please think through it, Jian Wushuang said. The three great emperors became quiet. They, of course, understood what Jian Wushuang meant by factors. It was a suppressing treasure and the suppressing treasure was mastered by Jian Wushuang. If Jian Wushuang were to keep them in suppressing treasure, it meant that they would be being suppressed by Jian Wushuang. Once they were suppressed, no matter how powerful they were, their lives and deaths would be controlled by Jian Wushuang. In other words, their lives would fall into the hands of Jian Wushuang temporarily. If it were during normal times or under circumstances in which they had other solutions, the three great emperors would definitely not agree. But then, yes, as soon as we can destroy the dark millstone, it is nothing to be inconvenienced temporarily, Great Emperor Ji Luo said. I am willing, Emperor Jiu Qiao nodded. The two of them trusted Jian Wushuang. Firstly, they were from the same team and they had come to Three Emperors' world to fight for life in eternal chaotic world. Secondly, Jian Wushuang had blocked 6 great emperors alone to create an opportunity for them to flee. In other words, he had saved them earlier. Their lives were saved by Jian Wushuang. It was nothing to hand their lives into Jian Wushuang's hand temporarily. The two great emperors agreed and they then looked towards Abysmal Saint Master. Abysmal Saint Master was different from them after all. The two of them didn't share any resentment with Jian Wushuang and Jian Wushuang absolutely wouldn't harm them. But as for Abysmal Saint Master, I agreed. Abysmal Saint Master lifted his head and there was determination in his eyes. At the same time he looked Jian Wushuang in his eyes and said, Jian Wushuang, I believe that you will consider the overall situation. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, don't worry. If we were in eternal chaotic world and there wasn't any danger, I might have an idea in my head. But now there's no benefit to me if you die. Abysmal Saint Master nodded heavily. He understood it well too. As the three of you have decided, I shall start. Please do not resist, Jian Wushuang said. The three great emperors took a deep breath and stood there in silence. They saw Jian Wushuang's sword transform into a lofty mountain and press at them. Chapter 2020 in Imperial City? The three great emperors didn't fight back. Hence, they were naturally suppressed into Blood Mountain Sword easily. When you are in Blood Mountain Sword, you can still communicate with me through consciousness. You will also be able to see whatever happens in the outside world as well. Jian Wushuang communicated with the three great emperors in Blood Mountain Sword. Jian Wushuang, your sword is very unique. Not only is its attack fierce, its suppressing power is not too shabby. How did you find this? Abysmal Saint Master asked. About this I can't tell you, Jian Wushuang didn't share. His body suddenly quivered and the muscles all over his body bulged. His body became much stubbier. As his muscles billowed, his skin grew tanned and he gave out a manly vibe. At the same time, Jian Wushuang's muscles started growing as well. After a short while, Jian Wushuang's appearance had changed entirely. A scrawny young-looking man who looked cold suddenly became a brawny man who kept a beard and was messy. He was wearing ordinary clothing as he wore a malicious smile. On top of that, he put his sword away into his Chen Kuan ring and he was wearing a pair of red gloves. Even the aura on his body changed tremendously and because unusually furious. He was just like a volcano that had accumulated boundless power. It was as though he would explode anytime. I reckon no one will recognize me like this. Jian Wushuang laughed and his laughter sounded furious too. The three great emperors in Blood Mountain Sword were surprised but they understood the intention of Jian Wushuang's actions. He naturally wouldn't say much. When all the preparations had been finished, Jian Wushuang departed to the huge city engulfed in the Great Formation. At the magnificent entrance of the Imperial City, there were dozens of soldiers in dark armor guarding it. Even though they were merely soldiers guarding the city entrance, all of them had reached the level of a chaotic real god. A chaotic real god could be the monarch of a holy kingdom in eternal chaotic world. However, in the supreme sanctuary of Three Emperors' world, Imperial City, a chaotic real god was only a soldier who guarded that city entrance. Swoosh! A brawny figure that gave out a furious aura plunged from the void afar and arrived before the Imperial City's gate. The brawny figure appeared and there were instantly a few soldiers who came forward. Stop! The leading soldier raised his hand. Stop? How dare you block my road? Are you sick of living? The brawny figure, which was Jian Wushuang, glared like a lion eyeing his prey. The few soldiers' faces instantly grew grave and they looked shocked. Before they said anything, there was an elder in a gray robe who flew out from Imperial City. I am Imosu. I wonder who you are. The elder in a gray robe behaved rather humbly in the beginning. I don't care who you are. Hurry up and move aside. Don't block my way to enter the city. Jian Wushuang behaved barbarously. Aren't you too rude? You don't care about your identity? The elder in a gray robe, Imosu, looked to be in distress. I don't care about my identity. What does that have to do with you? Jian Wushuang scoffed. I'm guessing you're here for the first time, right? The elder in the gray robe looked at him. So what if I am? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. You have something you don't know about. Whoever enters the Imperial City has to declare his identity clearly and he has to pay a fee. The rule is set up by the higher-ups in Imperial Cabinet. No one can go against it, the elder in a gray robe said. Is it so? The old folks in Imperial Cabinet are so troublesome, Jian Wushuang replied impatiently. Forget it. My name is Asho, which means beast. As for my origins, I do not belong to any sect or cult. I do not belong to any family either. There's just me, myself and I. I see. It turns out that you are a solo expert with no background. The elder in a gray robe stole a glance at Jian Wushuang with disdain. Write down a record. You can enter after you pay the entrance fee. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate. He had already killed 2 experts in 3 Emperor Worlds, Tian Xingzi and Silver-Winged Mansion Master. Hence, he had enough resources and currency. After that, he walked into Imperial City straight away. We're in? After they entered the Imperial City, Jian Wushuang was filled with excitement. He started looking around. The 3 great emperors and Blood Mountain Sword saw everything as well. There were countless huge pavilions and palaces towering in the void. On top of that, there was a walkway paved using divine power purely, which looked exactly like a normal street. It was merely a huge city that was more magnificent than an ordinary city. Most importantly, the cultivator standard was absolutely the highest among all cities that Jian Wushuang had seen. The weakest one, there was at least a real god, a chaotic real god. As for almighties in chaotic realm, they were all over the place. Jian Wushuang could feel the obscure aura in the nearby void. The aura had to belong to experts of great emperor level in the city. That is. Jian Wushuang suddenly lifted his gaze to look at the very end of the road. There was a dim gray light that was dome-shaped. It was actually a formation and it covered a huge territory. In Imperial City, there is still an area that is covered in formation? Jian Wushuang was surprised. This should be Imperial Peak that Silver-Winged Mansion Master was talking about. According to what he had said, Imperial City is merely where the elites of 3 emperors gather. Any expert who reaches the level of chaotic realm or chaotic real god who has a backer can enter Imperial City. However, it doesn't apply to Imperial Peak, Abysmal Saint Master said in Blood Mountain Sword. Imperial Peak is the core of the Imperial City. Imperial Cabinet on top of Imperial Peak. They have the best cultivation resources in 3 Emperors World. However, as they are limited resources, there are not many people who can enter Imperial Peak. One is required to reach a certain level to enter Imperial Peak. Jian Wushuang understood. In other words, the Imperial City was like Thunderbolt Island in Eternal Chaotic World. There were countless opportunities on Thunderbolt Island, but the 16 Precious Fairy Palace would require a token of the Fairy Palace's legacy to enter. Imperial City was the cultivation sanctuary of 3 Emperors World. Due to cultivation resources, it also required one to fulfill certain criteria before entering. Chapter 2021 The Bar Figh. It's a pity that we were in a rush when we interrogated Silver-Winged Mansion Master. We didn't find out the requirements to enter Imperial Peak, Abysmal Saint Master said. It's okay. We can ask around. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and his gaze was fixed on a bar in front of him. There were bars in any city and the same applied in Imperial City. The brawny man that Jian Wushuang took the form of had already walked to the bar. Jian Wushuang casually sat at a table after he entered the bar. He didn't care if there was anyone else there but shouted, "Waiter!" "Mr." A waiter in black working in the bar quickly came next to Jian Wushuang. The waiter in black was also a chaotic real god. "Give me your best alcohol," Jian Wushuang demanded. "Yes." The waiter in black waved and there was a pot of alcohol that appeared on Jian Wushuang's table. "Enjoy, mister." Then the waiter in black turned to leave. "Don't be in a hurry to leave. I have something to ask you." Jian Wushuang stopped the waiter in black from leaving. "Mister, how can I help you?" The waiter in black behaved rather humbly. He could tell that Jian Wushuang was an expert above chaotic realm. Naturally, Jian Wushuang wasn't someone he could afford to offend. It is my first time here in Imperial City. I heard that there's this place called Imperial Peak in Imperial City. It is a cultivation sanctuary. I want to get there. I wonder what the prerequisites are? Jian Wushuang asked. Oh, just about this? The waiter in black raised his eyebrows and answered, Mister, there are 2 ways to get to Imperial Peak. First, reach a certain level in power and become a deacon in Imperial Cabinet. However, the deacon in Imperial Cabinet is normally taken charge of by experts above the middle stage chaotic realm. Tell me the second way, Jian Wushuang waved. He was merely an early stage chaotic realm. If he were to display the fighting power of one in middle stage chaotic realm, it would catch people's attention. The second way is easier. Every century the Imperial City will have a ranking competition. The competition is carried out on 2 levels. One is chaotic real god level and the other is for experts like yourself, early stage chaotic realm. Regardless of who you are, as long as you can be in the top 5 in the ranking competition that is held every 100 years, you will be qualified to enter Imperial Peak for cultivation. As for how long you can stay in there, it depends on your performance in Imperial Peak. For example, geniuses who are extremely gifted, they could stay and cultivate in Imperial Peak. When they leave, they will already have joined Imperial Cabinet and became the top experts in Imperial Cabinet, the waiter in black said. I see, Jian Wushuang was tempted. The second way to enter via ranking competition was extremely workable for him. Let me ask you, how long is it until the next ranking competition? Jian Wushuang asked. It's close. It has been 95 years since the previous ranking competition. There are only 5 years left until the next ranking competition begins, the waiter in black answered. 5 years. Jian Wushuang nodded in silence. If the ranking competition had just ended not long ago and it required another 100 years until the competition came, he definitely wouldn't wait for it. However, he could afford to wait if it was only 5 years away. Then Jian Wushuang broke into a smile. He grabbed the waiter in black by his collar and spoke into his ear, I am going to give you a reward. There are many cultivation resources in this Jianghu ring. I'm giving them to you. Go and prepare everything for me. I want to join the ranking competition in 5 years' time. Yes, thank you, mister. The waiter in black was thrilled in excitement after he took the Jianghu ring. He nodded politely and asked, How do I address you, mister? Ma Shou, which represents a beast. Jian Wushuang roared and his voice resounded in the bar. There were many other cultivators in the bar. They heard Jian Wushuang roar and many creased their eyebrows but they didn't bother. On the table next to him there was a lady in green that scoffed, Ah Shou? What kind of a silly man would name himself that? There was a handsome young man in a white robe who sat opposite the lady in green. He chuckled and replied, Should be someone who came in from some remote areas. Look at him. He has no experience in life. He didn't even know the prerequisites to enter Imperial Peak. The two of them chatted casually. Although they lowered their voices, how could Jian Wushuang not hear it with his power? Jian Wushuang immediately put on a savage look and stared at the two of them. You two sons of AB** cheese, what are you talking about? Do you think I can't hear you? The faces of the young man and the lady in green changed. Son of AB** Tsich had obviously offended them. A show, right? The handsome young man stood up and he stared at Jian Wushuang with his malicious gaze. I am from Lin family in Prefecture Tong, Lin Tianhao. This is my godsister from C2 family in Prefecture Tong. What you said earlier. If you were to kowtow and apologize now, the two of us would let you off the hook. Otherwise what? Jian Wushuang smirked. His smirk was as cold as a sharp blade. Whatever Lin family, C2 family, I have never heard of them. Don't bring up all these family names to scare me. None of these family names matter to me. You have guts. If so, don't blame me. The handsome young man Lin Tianhao immediately turned illusionary. Lin Tianhao took action in the bar straight away. Lin Tianhao's aura was churning. He was an expert in chaotic realm and also only in early stage chaotic realm. His aura was intense and his divine power was pure. He was obviously much stronger than an ordinary cultivator in early stage chaotic realm. Just as his figure grew illusionary, his right hand stretched forth his palm and waved. The divine power instantly burst out. Haha, just in time. Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter. He was fearless, but he took a step forward and raised his hand to punch ferociously. Jian Wushuang, of course, intentionally reserved some strength. Even so, the power of the punch was enough for a top Sir God to take him seriously. Bang! The collision of both parties caused a deep thud. As they were in the bar and they were in Imperial City, both parties controlled their divine power during the attack. They didn't let the divine power spread, nor did they destroy the bar. They didn't even break any tables or chairs. Humph! Lin Tianhao humphed and his palms suddenly became red. Chapter 2022 put on a full show. Lin Tianhao smacked his red palm a few times. He could control his divine power so that the power wouldn't spread, but the mighty power that the palm brought about was terrifying. Jian Wushuang felt as though he was a volcano exploding continuously. Haha, interesting. Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter as his hands were covered with a layer of redness. The very next moment, there was an unprecedented rage that spread from Jian Wushuang's body. King of Beasts Divine Punch, first move. Brr. There was a faint roar and a shadow of a ferocious beast appeared behind Jian Wushuang out of nowhere. His punch brought about the power of a thunderbolt and hit. As he wanted to pretend to be a barbaric, valiant man who was good with his fists, Jian Wushuang had intentionally studied some punch skills intensively. He had been wandering in eternal chaotic world for so many years and he received various secret skills. Among them there were many punch skills. Jian Wushuang found one that was not too shabby and suitable for his barbaric character, which was King of Beasts Divine Punch. There were 27 moves in the punching skill. Second move. Third move. A punch followed by another. He continuously punched and he intentionally controlled the divine power contained in every single punch. However, he still managed to pierce the spacetime with ease. Jian Wushuang's barbaric punches collided with Lin Tianhao's volcanic palms. In an instant, bang, 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 bang. The low thud resounded in everyone's ears. Under such strong attacks, both intentionally controlled their divine powers but still caused quite a significant movement. Both of them exchanged blows in an instant in one breath time. Stop. There was a loud roar from outside the bar. Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao immediately stopped. Swoosh. There was a figure that appeared in the bar in a flash. The figure appeared right in between Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao. He was a white-haired elder who went through the transformation of the world. His long, white beard reached above his chest and there was rage in his murky eyes. The two of you have guts. How dare you fight so ferociously in Imperial City? The elder was angry and his boundless divine might spread. His divine might already reach the level of a peak emperor god, also the top of middle stage chaotic realm. Looking at the arrival of the elder, Jian Wushuang remained casual in manner but he was actually shocked. Lin Tianhao and I fought for less than a breath of time. On top of that, we could control our divine power for the movement to be even smaller. But in such a short period of time, there was a peak emperor god that rushed here. Plus, I also felt a faint soul power sweep over earlier. I believe there is a great emperor who noticed the situation here. Jian Wushuang was astonished. He was astonished at how strict the guard in Imperial City was. The reason why he had intentionally provoked Lin Tianhao and fought with him was that he wanted to test the actual situation in Imperial City. But the result was far beyond his expectations. The guard in Imperial City itself is so strict. As the core of Imperial City, Imperial Peak where Imperial Cabinet was located, how much stricter could it be? Under such high alert, wouldn't he be noticed as soon as Jian Wushuang did anything? In the bar, many customers stood up simultaneously out of curiosity. In the middle of the bar, the elder was raging with anger. Jian Wushuang said casually, "It has nothing to do with me. This started it. I can't just stand here and let him hit me." The elder squinted his eyes and fixed his gaze on the waiter in black. The waiter in black had been standing to the side earlier. He watched the cause of the ferocious fight very clearly. He immediately replied, "Mr. Deacon, it is true that this Mr. took action first." The elder then cast a reprimanding gaze at Lin Tianhao. Lin Tianhao took a deep breath and bowed at the elder politely. He then said, "Mr. Deacon, I am Lin Tianhao from Lin family in Prefecture Tong." From Lin family? The elder's face changed. In Three Emperors' world there were many strong forces and families, especially families. Some ancient families were powerful and influential within Imperial Cabinet. For instance, Lin family was one of them. Although Lin family didn't have any peak chaotic realm leader, they had more than 4 experts in peak middle stage chaotic realm. 3 out of 4 of them were holding important posts in the Imperial Cabinet. Some might hold an even higher position than he did. Humph, even if you are a disciple from Lin family, you do not behave like a rascal in Imperial City, the elder humphed coldly. But it was obvious that his tone was much calmer. Yes, I'll remember that, Lin Tianhao nodded continuously. All right. If both parties are fine, this ends here. Dismiss yourselves, the elder waved and then left. The bar became quiet again. Only Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao were left standing there. Asho, right? I remember you. You're lucky this time. You wouldn't be that lucky next time. Aren't you joining the ranking competition in 5 years' time? I happen to be joining that too. By then I won't let you off the hook, Lin Tianhao said coldly. Ah, come on. They'll be ready to fight with you, Jian Wushuang scoffed. Then he grabbed the waiter in black next to him. You take me to somewhere to stay. Yes, yes, the waiter in black naturally followed his command. In no time, Jian Wushuang came to a secret room under the lead of the waiter in black. Although the surroundings of the room were covered in a layer of prohibition and ordinary people wouldn't just come in as they wish, Jian Wushuang wouldn't let the three of them out just in case. Jian Wushuang, aren't you asking for too much attention in Imperial City? Abysmal Saint Master creased his eyebrows and said. The three of them saw what had happened earlier. Jian Wushuang did catch a lot of attention as he was too barbaric. However, Jian Wushuang laughed at the comment. As I am acting, I have to put on a full show. On top of that, the experts in Three Emperors world know that we barged in. They will definitely be on high alert. Especially in Imperial City, they will definitely keep watch of every new expert. I am an expert in early stage chaotic realm who came to Imperial City. I reckon there will be someone already watching me the moment I enter the city. If I were to be extra careful in Imperial City, the experts in Imperial Cabinet would pay more attention or even be suspicious of me. Now that I behaved barbarically, the experts in Imperial Cabinet won't be that suspicious of me instead. Chapter 2023 Ranking Competition? You're right, Abysmal Saint Master and the other great emperors nodded in agreement. The experts on the highest rank in Imperial Cabinet were definitely paying attention to the unknown experts, especially those who were extremely careful and afraid to be in the limelight. Hence, it made sense if he did exactly the opposite. Imperial Peak is the core of Imperial City. We have to figure out a way to get into Imperial Peak. However, the ranking competition is 5 years away. We can only wait 5 years, Jian Wushuang said. If it's only for 5 years. We can afford to wait, Abysmal Saint Master and the other two great emperors said. Then they started waiting patiently. The three great emperors continued to stay in Blood Mountain Sword but never came out. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang utilized the 5 years to cultivate the immemorial celestial body. Immemorial celestial body would definitely be useful to Jian Wushuang if he cultivated it successfully. 5 years passed by very quickly as he cultivated. Mr. The waiter in black from the bar entered the secret room with Jian Wushuang's permission. It's time for the ranking competition. I'll take you there now. Alright, lead the way. Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter. Jian Wushuang soon arrived at a huge independent space under the lead of the waiter in black. Mr. The ranking competition among experts in early-stage chaotic realm will be carried out in this independent space. This is your identity token. The waiter in black passed Jian Wushuang a token. Thank you. Jian Wushuang smiled and then stepped into the independent space. The independent space was boundless. It wouldn't even be a problem for a few experts in peak chaotic realm to fight in there, let alone the cultivators of the early-stage chaotic realm. There were many cultivators in the independent space and every one of them were experts in early-stage chaotic realm. There were more than 100 people in one glance. Haha, it's quite busy here. Jian Wushuang stepped into the independent space and let out a burst of hearty laughter. His laughter reverberated through the entire independent space and the experts in the space looked at Jian Wushuang. When they saw Jian Wushuang, whose aura was ferocious as a beast's, the experts looked surprised. Who is this? I have never seen him before. No idea. He should be an expert who just came to Imperial City not too long ago. Hee. I know this person. His name is Asho. He isn't famous in Three Emperors world. It is his first time in Imperial City. However, he is barbaric in nature. I heard that he fought with Lin Tianhao from Lin family the moment he entered Imperial City. Both of them fought too. Many people immediately looked at the handsome Lin Tianhao the moment they heard that. Lin Tianhao joined the ranking competition too. Then he was standing next to the lady in green. When he noticed Jian Wushuang's arrival, there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. This B***** is such a show-off, Lin Tianhao muttered. Don't worry about him. He is so silly. He wouldn't even know if he died, the lady in green said. Humph, don't let me fight against him later. Otherwise. Lin Tianhao's gaze grew even colder. Although the ranking competition in Imperial City happened every once in 100 years, only the top 5 were allowed to enter Imperial Peak. However, there were too many cultivators in Three Emperors World who wanted to enter Imperial Peak. Hence, it was the reason why it would stir up a ferocious commotion during the ranking competition every 100 years. Swoosh. Suddenly, there were a few figures that appeared in the independent space. The leading person had white hair and a white beard. He was the elder that stopped Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao from fighting last time. The elder was a deacon in Imperial Cabinet and he was hosting the ranking competition that day. Everyone is almost here. Let's begin. The elder looked around and his voice bright and clear. The rules for this ranking competition are the same as before. It will be segregated into 2 parts. The first round of competition would be the elimination round. Your opponent is him. The elder waved and a brawny figure in silver armor appeared in the independent space. The brawny figure looked stoned and there were no emotions in his eyes. He obviously wasn't a human cultivator. This is a Dao soldier? Jian Wushuang's eyes dilated in shock. He of course recognized the brawny figure. He was very familiar with it. The silver armor and the unique aura, it was obviously a Dao soldier from ancient times. It was a silver-armored Dao soldier. Under normal circumstances, the power of silver-armored Dao soldiers was Emperor God level. In other words, middle-stage chaotic realm level. It was stronger than the cultivators from early-stage chaotic realm at the scene. However, Dao soldier didn't know any killing tactics. Hence, its fighting power was far behind a middle-stage chaotic realm expert. What you need to do is take turns to attack. Within 10,000 miles range, fight with this Dao soldier for more than 10 breaths without being defeated. Then you will be qualified to enter the second round. The elder waved and there was a region engulfed in purple light cover around the silver-armored Dao soldiers. The region was about 10,000 miles. Then, everyone's expressions grew solemn. Most of them wouldn't care if they had to fight with silver-armored Dao soldier. As long as they were smart enough to not fight head-on with the silver-armored Dao soldier but deal with it via their speed and flexibility, anyone could last for 10 breaths against the silver-armored Dao soldier. However, the difficulty became more intense when they were limited to 10,000 miles. Within 10,000 miles, it would be hard for the experts in early-stage chaotic realm to perform their speed and skills. In short, they would be on the defensive during their fight against the silver-armored Dao soldier. Let's begin. Come to the front when I call your name. The elder didn't explain much and started reading names. The first one was a lady in red who used a red sickle as her weapon. Her power wasn't considered to be as weak among early-stage chaotic realm. However, there was too much restriction within 10,000 miles. Her speed couldn't be put to play at all. In the end, she only lasted for 6 breaths of time and she was defeated by the silver-armored Dao soldier. The second one was worse. He only lasted for 3 breaths. The third and fourth ones failed too. Until the fifth person, he barely lasted 10 breaths against the silver-armored Dao soldiers after putting all his skills to play. Restricted within 10,000 miles. Many people couldn't perform their skills. It is too difficult to last 10 breaths of time against the silver-armored Dao soldiers. There are 100 people but I'm afraid there might not even be 1/3 of them who could pass the first round, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Chapter 2024 Brutal? As expected, as the cultivators went ahead one after another, there was hardly anyone who could last for 10 breaths in the fight against silver-armored Dao soldiers. Among the 3 to 4 contestants, there was only one who passed the first round. The time flew past. In the blink of an eye, the silver-armored Dao soldiers had already fought with more than half of the contestants. Next, show. The elder called. Haha, it's finally my turn. Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter. Before everyone's gaze, he walked forward. Everyone focused their attention on Jian Wushuang. Because Jian Wushuang's aura was so powerful, they can't belittle him. Jian Wushuang came before the silver-armored Dao soldiers and he felt the prohibition of the 10,000 miles range. Begin, the elder said. The silver-armored Dao soldiers didn't hesitate and rushed out. Then Jian Wushuang smiled maliciously without fear. He charged out fiercely as well. What is this guy doing? The surrounding spectators were surprised. Everyone knew that Dao soldier was powerful. Hence, no one would opt to fight a ferocious fight against the silver-armored Dao soldier head-on. They would normally rely on their own skills to drag the silver-armored Dao soldier on. It would be enough if they could drag them on for 10 breaths of time. Jian Wushuang was the first to charge at the silver-armored Dao soldier and obviously wanted to fight it head-on. Take my punch. Jian Wushuang bellowed and there was a bolt of divine power that soared in his hand and became a huge fist. The silver-armored Dao soldiers punched ferociously too. Both parties fought head-on without any patterns. Bang. There was a low thud. Jian Wushuang took one step back from the impact from the collision of the terrifying power, but the silver-armored Dao soldiers didn't move at all. D*MN. This thing's punch is tough. However, I am not afraid of anyone's punch. Jian Wushuang raged furiously, and there was boundless anger in his eyes. King of Beasts, divine punch. Roar. There was a faint roar, and there was a shadow of a huge beast that appeared from nowhere behind Jian Wushuang. His punch brought about a hit as powerful as a thunderbolt. One punch was followed by another. Every punch contained the power that shook all cultivators at the scene. The silver-armored soldier had no emotions but only knew to punch ferociously against Jian Wushuang. Bang, 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 bang. There was a continuous collision of punches that reverberated in the independent space. There was a large amount of power that dispersed in all directions and caused a huge movement after every collision. Jian Wushuang also fought ferociously against the silver-armored Dao soldier. The people who were watching the fight looked dumbfounded. This person is so powerful. How dare he fight against silver-armored Dao soldiers with punches and strength? He didn't have the lower hand at all. With that in itself, he should be in the top 10 among the contestants in this ranking competition. Not only is he powerful, he is terrifyingly fierce and brutal. Yeah, brutal. The surrounding people nodded simultaneously. The vibe that Jian Wushuang gave was too brutal. It was so brutal that it struck fear in the others. He was simply a war chariot that elbowed and jostled its way around. He wasn't a person anyone wanted to offend. As Jian Wushuang fought with the silver-armored Dao soldiers, 10 breaths of time passed. The silver-armored Dao soldiers stopped. Although Jian Wushuang was still soaring with battle intention, he stopped too. Jian Wushuang then exited the 10,000 miles range. He exited and glanced at the other cultivators. He then broke into a smirk. A bunch of puss asterisks. What are you looking at? Are you afraid of me now? If you are, admit defeat if you plan to go against me in the second round. Then I won't have to beat you up. If you don't surrender, I will defeat all of you one by one. Then Jian Wushuang walked to the side arrogantly. Although the cultivators looked upset, no one stood against him. The power that Jian Wushuang had put on display was amazing. There were very few of them who were confident in winning against him. Among the crows, the handsome Lin Tianhao and the lady in green stood side by side. Then a young man in purple robe walked over. Brother Tianhao, where does this show come from? How could he be this powerful and he could fight head-on with the silver-armored Dao soldiers? There are so many unknown experts in Three Emperors' world. Who knows where this reckless B***** comes from? Lin Tianhao replied in disdain. Brother Tianhao, you fought with this show before. What do you think of his power? The young man in purple robe continued to ask. He is quite powerful. His punch skills are okay. That's all I know. After all, I only fought with him for a short instant. I didn't put all my skills to play. As for if he used all his skills, I am not sure myself, Lin Tianhao replied. I see, the young man in purple robe nodded faintly. He looked at Jian Wushuang with a tinge of fear in his eyes. This show is so brutal and he is so terrifyingly powerful. I hope that I won't have to go up against him in the second round. The ranking competition continued. After Jian Wushuang, there was quite a number of cultivators that fought against the silver-armored Dao soldiers, including the handsome Lin Tianhao. Among the 100 experts in early-stage chaotic realm that joined the ranking competition, Lin Tianhao was among the few on the top. He could be said to be one of the few strongest experts. It was not surprising that he passed the first round. The first round of ranking competition ended very quickly. There were originally over 100 cultivators, but it was left with only 36 people left after the first round of the ranking competition. Among the 36 contestants, they had to fight for the 5 quotas. The rules for the second round was very easy. They would fight one-on-one after drawing lots. When the 9 final candidates were sifted out, there would be a rotation battle. Then they could decide on the 5 strongest candidates. After drawing lots, the elder announced the first pair of opponents. The opponent that Jian Wushuang was going against in the first battle was Qiuming. Jian Wushuang looked around and saw the man in a purple robe who was standing next to Lin Tianhao. He is my first opponent? Jian Wushuang scoffed. The man in a purple robe looked distressed. He had been praying hard to not go up against Jian Wushuang earlier. But the moment the second round commenced, he was allocated to fight against Jian Wushuang. Chapter 2025 Torture. The second round of the ranking competition began very quickly. The experts of early-stage chaotic realm went up for their assigned battle according to the lots they drew. Among the crowd, the man in a purple robe, Qiuming, retained a solemn look. Brother Qiuming, don't worry too much. Although Ah Shou is powerful, as long as you do not fight head-on with him, you will have a chance to win. On top of that, Ah Shou is a solo expert after all. He won't have any impressive secret skills. How could he win against the secret skills in Qiu family? Lin Tianhao looked at him. That's true. Qiuming nodded his head and he felt more confident. Very soon, it became the battle between Jian Wushuang and Qiuming. Swoosh. Jian Wushuang flashed and appeared in the spacious void. He looked at Qiuming in a purple robe who was walking to him slowly, and Jian Wushuang broke into a malicious smile. Hurry up, don't waste time. If you are afraid, admit defeat straight away. I couldn't be bothered to fight with someone your level. Admit defeat? Qiuming's gaze grew cold. He flipped his hand and there was a black spear that shined with cold light which appeared in his hand. Start, the elder who hosted the ranking competition said. Haha, come on. Jian Wushuang let out a burst of hearty laughter. Then he plunged out like a brown bear against Qiuming. He spread his raging aura over Qiuming. Qiuming was terrified. He clenched the spear in his hand more tightly and he moved just as Jian Wushuang was about to reach him. He moved just like a ghost. He leaped twice and wielded his spear. His divine power concentrated into 2 rays of light and hit Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and shattered the 2 rays of lights into pieces. Just as he leaped and wanted to hit Qiuming, Qiuming dodged to the side again. D*MN. Why the hell are you moving here and there? Take a punch of mine if you have the guts. Jian Wushuang pretended to be angry. Idiot. Why would I fight head-on with you when I know that you are powerful? Qiuming smirked coldly. After a short exchange of blows, he became even more confident. Brother Tianhao is right. This B*** only knows force. The other aspects are ordinary. With the secret skills of Qiu family, in addition to my spear skills, I can totally suppress him as long as I am careful. I could even fool him. I can definitely win this battle. Qiuming continued to move around in illusionary figures. He constantly moved away from Jian Wushuang and attacked Jian Wushuang with his spear, taking advantage of his flexibility of movement. Jian Wushuang was on the defensive all of a sudden. B****. Jian Wushuang stared with his eyes wide open and his face red from anger. It seemed as though he was helpless against his opponent. Just as the surrounding crowd thought Jian Wushuang was going to lose. There was a glimpse of madness in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Swoosh. The spear in Qiuming's hand became a venomous snake and attacked Jian Wushuang from behind. Under normal circumstances, Jian Wushuang would be dodging the spear. However, Jian Wushuang turned around and ignored the spear. He let the spear hit his divine body instead. Bang. There was a loud bang and Jian Wushuang's body quivered, but he didn't step back from the impact. On the contrary, he launched continuous punches. Boy, take a punch of mine. King of Beasts Divine Punch, the 18th move. Hong. A huge fist flung at Qiuming like a huge sacred elephant. Qiuming obviously didn't expect that. He couldn't dodge in time and he was hit by the punch. Poof. He spurted a mouthful of blood and his body was like a kite with a cut line. He was flying backward powerlessly. Jian Wushuang won the battle. Son of a B****. You thought I couldn't do anything about you. Jian Wushuang humphed coldly. He reprimanded him while he patted the spot on his chest where Qiuming's spear had stabbed. There was a white mark that was left by the spear. It was merely a white mark. The surrounding spectators were surprised. This man took Qiuming's hit directly and defeated Qiuming? Such a powerful divine body. He took Qiuming's hit and he wasn't injured at all. He didn't even move an inch but immediately counterattacked and defeated Qiuming. His divine body is so powerful. Powerful strength, powerful divine body. His only weakness is his speed. However, his overall power is terrifying. Everyone gasped in astonishment. Previously, they had thought Jian Wushuang could only be in the top 10 among the experts in early-stage chaotic realm. But now he could at least be in the top 5. Of course, that was what they had thought. As for how powerful Jian Wushuang was, no one would know as long as they didn't show it. After defeating Qiuming, Jian Wushuang retreated to the border of the battlefield and stood there casually in an arrogant manner. Then, the 3 great emperors and Blood Mountain Sword were teasing Jian Wushuang. Sword Emperor, how do you feel about bullying the young and inexperienced? Great Emperor Ji Luo laughed. Sword Emperor, you are so good at pretending. If it wasn't because all of us know your true power, we would really mistake you as a barbaric Sir God who was slightly more powerful, Emperor Jiuqiao added. However, Jian Wushuang replied bitterly, the 3 of you shouldn't make fun of me. I think all of you understand that it is even tougher to fight with these B*** than fighting against a great emperor. Jian Wushuang was telling the truth. If he were to fight with a great emperor, he could at least fight openly without any restraint. He could expose his power openly. However, during the ranking competition he was restrained. He was trying his best to disguise himself in terms of behavior, speech and also the power he displayed. Especially during the ferocious battles, he had to control his strength and speed to a reasonable level. It was exceedingly difficult. Such a battle was torturous to Jian Wushuang. He'd rather fight against a great emperor openly. Hold on. There are many more battles coming your way, Abysmal Saint Master smiled. That's true. Sword Emperor, the three of us are at too high of a realm and we couldn't expose ourselves. We can only rely on you for this. Great Emperor Ji Luo expressed herself too. Jian Wushuang had no choice. The following ranking competition was smooth sailing. Jian Wushuang defeated another expert at the early stage chaotic realm and became one of the top 9. Then the one-on-one rotation battles among the 9 started. In other words, everyone had to fight with the other 8. Then they would pick the top 5 from the 9. Chapter 2026 Lin Tianhao. The rotation battles for the top 9 were ongoing. Jian Wushuang had naturally disguised himself flawlessly. Regardless of his character or power, they were perfectly concealed. In the blink of an eye, Jian Wushuang had completed 7 battles. The result was 5 victory and 2 defeats. Such results ensured that he would be in the top 5 to enter Imperial Peak. The final battle was interesting because his last opponent was Lin Tianhao. Just as he entered Imperial City, he argued with him. They had even fought. Then, Lin Tianhao had told him to be careful when they were to go against each other in the ranking competition. In the end, they were going to fight a battle. Brother Hao Yin, you have to take care of this silly B*****. Teach him a lesson, the lady in green gritted through her teeth. The lady in green was originally in the top 9 and she could be in the top 5 with her power so she could enter the Imperial City. However, no one had expected Asho to appear from nowhere. In the end, the lady in green had been defeated by Jian Wushuang. It would be impossible if she wanted to enter Imperial Peak. She had to wait for another 100 years. Hence, the lady in green naturally held a grudge against Jian Wushuang. Don't worry. I will take revenge on your behalf. At the same time, I will vent my anger too, Lin Tianhao said. With Brother Tianhao taking action personally, this silly man could only be on the defensive, the lady in green nodded. She had absolute confidence in Lin Tianhao. Very soon, Jian Wushuang and Lin Tianhao appeared on the spacious battlefield. Hey, it's you again. Jian Wushuang crossed his arms before his chest. He was still casual in his manner. Humph. I didn't get to fight a hearty battle with you in the bar. Today we have to call victory and defeat between us. Lin Tianhao glared coldly. All right. Come and hit me. Save your bullshit. Jian Wushuang dug his ear as he said arrogantly. You are courting death. Lin Tianhao was angry. His hands became crimson red in an instant, just like 2 volcanoes. As he slapped, there was a significant amount of flames spreading to the surrounding. The entire battlefield was a sea of fire. Back in the bar, regardless of if it were Lin Tianhao or Jian Wushuang, both intentionally controlled their strength and power so that it didn't spread. Hence, the movement in the bar wasn't great. However, both of them held no scruples then. Looking at Lin Tianhao's palm, Jian Wushuang smirked and then punched with his crimson fists too. The volcano-like palms collided with Jian Wushuang's fists and there were continuous ferocious clashes. Both parties exchanged blows and the competition was immediately white-hot. One should know that the strength and divine body that Jian Wushuang had put on display was powerful. As such, the cultivators in the ranking competition avoided fighting head-on with him. Only Lin Tianhao alone was fearless. He was the first who had the courage to fight Jian Wushuang head-on and he didn't have the lower hand. Haha boy, I belittled you. You are quite powerful, huh? Jian Wushuang laughed. Humph, you are not too shabby. It is definite that you could enter Imperial Peak. However, it is a pity that you offended me earlier. I have to teach you a lesson. Lin Tianhao sounded cold. Just as he had said, there was suddenly a layer of crimson armor that surfaced from his body. The crimson armor was like magma in a volcano, the temperature was terrifyingly high. Then his figure grew by 1 size too. He was 3 meters tall and his aura naturally grew tremendously too. Secret skill of golden flame burned the mountain. Oh. Lin Tianhao slapped. His slap was like a huge aerolite surrounded with boundless flames that descended directly. The strength of the power had absolutely already reached middle stage chaotic realm, the level of Emperor God. This boy is really not too shabby. Jian Wushuang was surprised but he performed King of Beasts' divine punch again to resist. Bang. There was a loud bang and Jian Wushuang took a few steps back from the impact. The surrounding void was still burning in the flames. Humph, you should be proud that you were able to resist this move. But the next one. Lin Tianhao's gaze turned cold. Secret skill of golden flame burn the earth. Pong. Similarly he slapped. It was double the power of the earlier palm. Again? Jian Wushuang looked shocked. Then he retreated without hesitation. He even exited the battlefield to join the surrounding spectators. Forget it. I'm already in the top 5 and I can enter Imperial Peak. It is not necessary to fight a life and death battle with you. You win this battle. Jian Wushuang waved and acted generous. The surrounding spectators looked at him in disdain when they saw the scene. They could tell that Jian Wushuang had quit because he wasn't Lin Tianhao's match and he wasn't confident that he could win against Lin Tianhao. That was the true reason why he had opted to quit, not what he had said it to be. He was extremely shameless. Lin Tianhao was angry about his action but he had no choice. Jian Wushuang admitted defeat and retreated to outside of the battlefield. He couldn't just continue to chase after him. But in actual fact, no one knew that Jian Wushuang wasn't shameless, but the truth was just as he had said. His intention was only to enter Imperial Peak. He could already enter, so he naturally didn't need to fight with Lin Tianhao further. On top of that, the character that he was disguised as, Shou, had put his power on display appropriately. If he were to defeat Lin Tianhao with more skills, he would outsmart himself. Hence, he might as well give up the battle. After another few battles, the ranking competition ended. The top 5 strongest contestants were chosen. The strongest among the 5 was Lin Tianhao from Lin family in Prefecture Tong. Jian Wushuang, disguised as Shou, was one of the 5 as well. The 5 of them were qualified to cultivate in Imperial Peak. The 5 of you be prepared. I will take you to Imperial Peak now, the elder who hosted the ranking competition said. The 5 of them looked excited. Haha, Imperial Peak, I heard of 3 Emperors World's cultivation sanctuary long ago. I wonder what it looks like. Jian Wushuang laughed casually. Such an inexperienced bumpkin. Lin Tianhao glared at Jian Wushuang in disdain. Yo, Mr. Lin from Lin family, Mr. Genius Lin, you are so amazing, but you are entering Imperial Peak for the first time just like us. Jian Wushuang mocked him. Chapter 2027 Supreme Emperor Stone. Humph, we are different. Although I am entering Imperial Peak for the first time, I already know the ins and outs of Imperial Peak. Lin Tianhao humphed coldly. Oh yeah? So what? What does it have to do with me? Jian Wushuang sneered. Lin Tianhao was stunned. Alright, stop your nonsense. The elder with white hair and a white beard reprimanded. All of you listen up. Imperial Peak is different from Imperial City. The rules in Imperial Peak are much stricter. In Imperial Peak, regardless of your background and identity, whoever goes against the rules in Imperial Peak will be punished. No one is an exception. So, all of you had better do things according to the rules. Yes, Lin Tianhao nodded. Of course. I never get into trouble, Jian Wushuang smiled. Under the lead of the elder, Jian Wushuang soon arrived in Imperial Peak. The moment they entered Imperial Peak, even Jian Wushuang, who was experienced, gasped in admiration at the sight. In his view, there was a lofty pinnacle that was beyond his imagination. The pinnacle was at least 10,000 zhang tall. It was broad and boundless, which made one reverent. In the pinnacle, there were lofty palaces and pavilions towering in every corner. On top of the huge pinnacle, there was one exquisite black pavilion. The black pavilion was pathetically small compared to the entire pinnacle. However, the black pavilion was where the Imperial Cabinet, the supreme power of 3 Emperors World, located. Imperial Cabinet? Jian Wushuang muttered. But suddenly, his gaze was caught by the void around the lofty pinnacle. There were 3 huge statues there. The 3 statues were about 10,000 zhang tall. They were human in shape, but they looked extremely strange. On top of that, the 3 statues gave people a mysterious feeling. Every single stone on the statue contained a boundless, abstruse vibe. Hence, Jian Wushuang saw a large number of cultivators seated before the 3 statues. They were obviously comprehending there. However, the one that truly caught Jian Wushuang's attention wasn't the 3 statues but a huge golden whirlpool in the middle of the 3 statues, also where the 3 statues fixed their gazes. The golden whirlpool was spinning madly and giving out a boundless aura. At the core of the golden whirlpool, there was a resplendent golden light. The golden light seemed to be showing off to the universe. It was as though it was the brightest light in the universe. Even from a distance, Jian Wushuang could feel the tremendous power contained in the golden light. What is that? Jian Wushuang exclaimed in surprise. Not only him but also the other four around him were looking at the golden whirlpool. There was a tinge of anticipation in their eyes. The elder that brought them in said, "It is the holy crystal that we three emperors' world hold the prestige of. It is said that the three emperors left it behind. Because of the holy crystal, three emperors' world is living in peace." The elder took fancy at the holy crystal too, but he didn't explain much. Holy crystal. Jian Wushuang focused. He could that the holy crystal in the golden whirlpool was extraordinary. Jian Wushuang, although I am in your sword, I can feel the boundless power that the holy crystal in the golden whirlpool carries. The holy crystal is extraordinary. You have to check on it later, Abysmal Saint Master and Blood Mountain Sword said. I know, Jian Wushuang nodded. Then the elder took the five of them around Imperial Peak and briefed them through the cultivation's places and rules. Then he arranged places for them to reside in before he left. Then Jian Wushuang and the other four naturally parted ways to do what they wanted to do. Jian Wushuang came before the golden whirlpool at the first instant. The golden whirlpool was huge and Jian Wushuang felt that it was like a huge, great formation. However, it was vastly different from Great Formation too. It was mysterious. Because of distance, Jian Wushuang had finally gotten to see the holy crystal in the golden whirlpool clearly. It was a piece of translucent crystal that was shimmering in gold. The golden crystal was unique. Not only did it contain extremely pure power, Jian Wushuang could also sense the vibe of an emperor from the golden crystal. A crystal carried the vibe of an emperor that strikes fear? What kind of a crystal is this? I have never seen it in eternal chaotic world. Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows as he asked, Abysmal Saint Master, do any of you know this crystal? The three great emperors and Blood Mountain Sword could see the scene outside clearly. They naturally could see the golden crystal in the whirlpool. The three of them looked confused. They obviously couldn't recognize the golden crystal either. Let me ask Emperor Bai and the other great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance. Let's see if any of them can recognize the golden crystal, Emperor Jiao Qiao said. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly. He knew that it was extraordinary and it was most likely extremely important to Three Emperor World. Hence, he had to find out the actual function. There were many great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance who wandered in the ancient battlefield. They might know some things in ancient times and could recognize the golden crystal. As expected, not long after Emperor Jiao Qiao inquired, East Royal Emperor recognized the golden crystal. Everyone, there's an answer. Emperor God Jiao Qiao said, according to East Royal Emperor, the golden crystal is named Supreme Emperor's Stone. It is a rare and precious gemstone from ancient times. It is extremely difficult to form the gemstone. A nail-sized Supreme Emperor's Stone would need a long time to take form. On top of that, the pure power contained in a nail-sized Supreme Emperor's Stone would be more than the total divine power of a Sir God expert. That is why the top sects who had powerful foundations in ancient times would use Supreme Emperor's Stone in their powerful formation as a source of strength, in order to maintain the revolving formation. Besides, the Supreme Emperor's Stone is born with the vibe of an emperor. Hence, it is best to use it to refine treasure with the emperor vibe. East Royal Emperor once obtained a Supreme Emperor's Stone by sheer luck. He showed the Supreme Emperor's Stone to my doppelganger earlier. It was really exactly the same as the golden crystal in the whirlpool. However, East Royal Emperor only got himself a little fist-sized Supreme Emperor's Stone. The one we see right now. Chapter 2028 Source of Energy? Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master and Great Emperor Ji Luo became quiet, but there was a great commotion from the bottom of their hearts. The Supreme Emperor's Stone in the golden whirlpool in front of them was too huge. It was a total of 100 zhang tall. It simply equated to a huge mountain. According to East Royal Emperor, a nail-sized Supreme Emperor's Stone contained pure divine power of a Sir God. Just how terrifyingly great was the pure divine power contained in the Supreme Emperor's Stone that was 100 zhang tall? Just how unbelievable was it? In ancient times, only the top sects and forces had the ability to use Supreme Emperor's Stone in their great formation as a source of energy. Back then, the huge Supreme Emperor's Stone in Imperial Peak that Three Emperors World treated as holy crystal, in addition to the surrounding gold whirlpool, was obviously a method to run a great formation. Could it be? Jian Wushuang suddenly thought of a possibility. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai and the others discussed and thought that if the great formation outside the Dark Millstone could engulf such a large area and still remain that powerful, it definitely requires an abundant source of energy. The Supreme Emperor's Stone is most likely the crucial part to run the formation of the Dark Millstone, Emperor Jiao Qiao said. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. He had already thought of the same thing. Any great formation would definitely require the support of pure energy. For example, the huge formation that was set up by his master in the ancient battlefield actually depended on the spacetime storm around it as its energy source. It was naturally not easy to maintain the great formation around the Dark Millstone that was impressive. However, the Supreme Emperor Stone absolutely had the power to maintain the revolving Dark Millstone. In other words, as long as we can destroy the huge Supreme Emperor Stone, the great formation around the Dark Millstone will collapse entirely? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Theoretically, yes. Besides, there's no need to destroy the Supreme Emperor Stone. As long as the connection between the Supreme Emperor Stone and the Dark Millstone is destroyed, which is the golden whirlpool around the Supreme Emperor Stone, the Dark Millstone is supposed to stop after the Supreme Emperor Stone failed to provide it pure energy, Emperor Jiao said. If so, let's hurry up and figure out a way to destroy the Supreme Emperor Stone and the golden whirlpool, Abysmal Saint Master said. But Jian Wushuang shook his head. We have yet to confirm that the Supreme Emperor Stone is the main factor that drives the Dark Millstone. On top of that, even if it is real, it won't be so easy to destroy it. We have to take our time and plan meticulously. That's true. Abysmal Saint Master and the other two great emperor nodded faintly and they eventually calmed down. Jian Wushuang, who stood before the golden whirlpool, maintained a casual manner. He looked around casually and he had spread his soul power long ago. The golden whirlpool could be said to be the most important place in Imperial Peak. The guards there are naturally strict. Not only were there deacon guards from Imperial Cabinet in sight, but there were also 3 experts of great emperor level hidden around to keep watch of this place. Once there is any movement, the 3 great emperors would take action immediately. Besides, the Imperial Cabinet on the top of Imperial Peak isn't far away from here. Once there is movement, there will be a large number of experts from Imperial Cabinet to those who were cultivating on Imperial Peak. In a short time, it could at least gather 7 to 8 great emperors. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. Imperial Peak was the most important place in Three Emperors' world. The old lair of Imperial Cabinet was located there. How easy would it be to destroy the Supreme Emperor Stone there? Don't be in a hurry. Now that I am in Imperial Peak, I'll stay in Imperial Peak for a while. I will ask around for more information and we will find a chance to take action, Jian Wushuang said. The other 3 great emperors nodded simultaneously too. They also knew that there were some things that couldn't be rushed through. They had to take one step at a time. They had to have a well-planned strategy before taking action. Otherwise, not only would their trip be into vain, their lives would be at stake too. Then Jian Wushuang stayed in Imperial Peak. From the outside, he looked like he was working hard to improve his power and using the cultivation resources. However, he was actually making friends with some other experts and asking salacious questions. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. With his hard work from the past 6 months, they came to a conclusion. The Emperor Supreme Rock was really the most important treasure in Three Emperors' world. It was also the source of energy in Three Emperors' world. Hence, it would naturally play a pivotal role in operating the Dark Millstone. As long as they could destroy the Emperor Supreme Rock, the great formation outside the Dark Millstone would collapse directly. Target locked. Now, it's time to figure out the hows. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. In Imperial Peak, we will not have any external assistance, nor will we have any stratagem or means that we could use. Hence, the only thing that we have an option for is the time to take action. The other 3 great emperors nodded simultaneously. The Emperor Supreme Rock was within the Golden Whirlpool. There was no doubt that they could only barge into the Golden Whirlpool and take thunderous measures if they wanted to destroy it. They had only one method to hand. Similarly, they definitely would have to deal with the hindrance by the top experts within Three Emperors' world. They could only seek to have absolutely perfect timing. I just received news that Imperial Peak will throw a doctrine propagation ceremony in 20 years. Besides the 3 great emperors guarding the Golden Whirlpool, the other great emperor experts in Imperial Cabinet will attend the ceremony personally while all cultivators in Imperial Peak will gather in Doctrine Propagation Palace. The palace was quite a distance away from the Golden Whirlpool. Even if a great emperor rushed in at full speed personally, I reckon it will take at least a dozen breaths of time to rush back. If we were to opt to take action on Doctrine Propagation Ceremony Day, the success rate would be much higher, Jian Wushuang said. Imperial Cabinet was not too far away from the Golden Whirlpool. They could hurry over in 5 breaths of time with the traveling speed of a great emperor. Compared to the dozen breaths time from Doctrine Propagation Palace, there would be an extra 7 to 8 breaths of time. Don't belittle the 7 to 8 breaths of time. The success rate will go up tremendously with the extra breaths given to Jian Wushuang and the 3 great emperors. If so, let's do it on that day. It's only 20 years away. Although eternal chaotic world is now in danger, we can afford to wait another 20 years, Abysmal Saint Master said. We agree too. Great Emperor Ji Luo and Emperor Jiao Qiao nodded in agreement too. Before long, the four of them came to a mutual agreement to take action at the doctrine propagation ceremony happening 20 years later. Chapter 2029 Finally Succeed. 20 years. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but clench his fists. 20 years happened to be what he needed then. He was very close to the completion of Immemorial Celestial Body at the beginner level. 20 years would be enough for him to complete the first volume of Immemorial Celestial Body. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang seized the time to cultivate. Of course, besides cultivating the Immemorial Celestial Body, he would symbolically walk around the Opportunity Lands occasionally. In Imperial Peak there was peace and quiet. At least it looked peaceful. With Imperial Cabinet attending the garrison duty personally, the experts and geniuses in Imperial Peak obeyed the rules and no one acted recklessly. The time flew past. In the blink of an eye, there was only 1 month left until Doctrine Propagation Ceremony. Jian Wushuang was in the secret room in the pavilion he stayed in. Virum. There was a billowing divine power that surrounded Jian Wushuang's divine body. On the surface of Jian Wushuang's body, there was a faint black jade luster. The black jade luster even substantiated and formed armor. The first volume of Immemorial Celestial Body completed. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes and there was light glistening in his eyes. At the same time, his divine body and divine power were experiencing a drastic change. Immemorial Celestial Body was a secret skill of body refinery. Its biggest function was to strengthen one's divine body. However, his divine power would improve too. For instance, Jian Wushuang's divine body and divine power were greatly affected. His divine power, which was originally fierce and pure and not inferior to a great emperor's, was improving tremendously. After a short while, it had completely transformed. As the divine power transformed, Jian Wushuang couldn't help but clench his fists and feel the billowing strength in him. Amazing. My divine power should have increased by 3 times. Jian Wushuang's eyes were wide open and he was shocked. He knew that his divine power would improve tremendously when he completed the first volume of Secret Skill of Immemorial Celestial Body, but he had never expected the improvement to be so drastic. 3 times the power. When one's power reached Great Emperor level, it could be considered a great improvement if his power were to increase by 30%. Let alone the fact that he improved by 3 times. In terms of divine power strength, he was 3 times stronger than an ordinary Great Emperor. In addition to his ancient tribe bloodline power, his power was definitely 4 to 5 times stronger than an ordinary Great Emperor's. How great was the difference? It meant that he could absolutely suppress any ordinary Great Emperor like breaking a piece of dead wood in terms of strength and power. In Sanctuary Alliance, putting Emperor by his side, the next strongest person is Red Dragon King. Even if he were to perform his full power using his unique bloodline, he would at most be 3 to 4 times stronger than an ordinary Great Emperor. Hence, I am stronger by a notch in terms of power. Jian Wushuang was thrilled. The tremendous improvement in strength power also signified his improvement in overall power. Now he was weaker in comprehension towards doctrine. However, he could still fight against the top few in Sanctuary Alliance. He was fearless against Red Dragon King and Abysmal Saint Master. In terms of power and strength, he might even have the upper hand. In terms of divine power itself, the improvement was already so significant. Immemorial Celestial Body was actually greatest at improving one's divine body. Jian Wushuang immediately started to inspect his divine body. His divine power was made of pure divine power, which was already powerful. Then, as he completed the first volume of Immemorial Celestial Body, the surface of his skin was faintly covered by a layer of jade black armor. The durability of his divine body had been through a drastic change. Such a divine body was far beyond Jian Wushuang's imagination. Even Jian Wushuang himself didn't know how powerful his divine body was. However, he had a feeling that if he were to be hemmed in by the 6 great emperors again, besides Ling Zong, who was the strongest among the 6 great emperors, the other 6 could hardly hurt him. Forget about being surrounded for 8 breaths, he could even survive 20 or even 30 breaths. His divine body wouldn't be damaged badly and he wouldn't expend much divine power either. With such a powerful divine body, in addition to the defense power of 5 gem armor and my perfect chaotic divine body, I will instantly recover my divine body via divine power. My survival ability or even attack-resistant ability are absolutely out of this world. Jian Wushuang beamed with joy. He was absolutely confident that besides Emperor Bai, who was an inverse cultivator like him on the final stage of the 7th step in inverse cultivation, there was no one else who could surpass him in terms of defense skill. He was simply unkillable. The moment I successfully cultivated Immemorial Celestial Body, my overall power increased tremendously. Now I should begin preparations, Jian Wushuang muttered and instantly communicated with his team members in Blood Mountain Sword. Great Emperor Ji Luo, I am going to walk along the border of the Great Formation around Imperial Peak. You see if you could make a space-time tunnel from here. Great Emperor Ji Luo nodded faintly. 1 month later, the doctrine propagation ceremony would take place and they intended to take action on the same day. Before they could do that, they had to consider their route of escape. Regardless of if they could destroy the Emperor's Supreme Rock or the surrounding Golden Whirlpool, they had to be prepared to leave Imperial Peak and Imperial City. Jian Wushuang maintained the disguise of a brawny man who was casual in manner. He came to the border of the Great Formation that engulfed the entire Imperial Peak and walked around casually along the border of the formation. He looked like he was taking a leisurely walk, but in actual fact, Great Emperor Ji Luo in Blood Mountain Sword was inspecting the Great Formation and surrounding spacetime. He walked for over 10 days straight while Great Emperor Ji Luo continued to study, but they didn't come up with any conclusion. The 4 of them weren't in a hurry though. Just then, Jian Wushuang, who was casually walking along the border of the Great Formation, suddenly looked up. He saw 2 figures flying towards him. The aura that the 2 figures carried was only an early-stage chaotic realm. Plus they looked extremely strong. One of them happened to be Lin Tianhao, who shared a long-standing friendship with Jian Wushuang. The 2 of them noticed Jian Wushuang's existence and immediately walked over. Isn't this Asho? What are you doing? Lin Tianhao squinted his eyes and there was a glimpse of coldness in his eyes. Jian Wushuang crossed his hands before his chest and pouted, "What does it have to do with you?" Lin Tianhao's face grew grave. He was used to Jian Wushuang's rude replies. On the contrary, the handsome young man next to him said, "Tianhao, who is this? He seems to be very arrogant." Chapter 20:30 The ceremony began. Arrogant. Lin Tianhao smirked. This person had called himself Asho. He came to Imperial Peak in the same batch of ranking competition as me. Not only is he arrogant, he is also unrestrainedly arrogant. I had an argument before. I told him my identity, but he didn't care about Lin family at all. The handsome young man's gaze grew cold. Didn't care about Lin family? One should know that the handsome man was from Lin family too. You're Asho, right? As you don't care about Lin family, I believe that you must be very powerful. As we have crossed paths today, why not make a trip to the battlefield together? The handsome young man asked in a deep voice. Battlefield? Jian Wushuang thought. It was a place designated for battle in Imperial Peak. The rules at Imperial Peak were strict, but in the battlefield, as long as both parties agreed, they could fight all they wanted. Just a battle anyway. Do you think I'm afraid of you? But I am very busy. I have no time to waste. So I'll take to you next time. Then Jian Wushuang turned to leave without looking at their response. He left very quickly as though he were running for his life. Lin Tianhao and the handsome young man saw his response and they looked at him in disdain. This B***star was so arrogant back in Imperial City and he didn't respect anyone at all. Now he is in Imperial Peak and realized that there are many experts who are far more powerful than him. He's now well behaved. Lin Tianhao scoffed. He didn't dare to take the challenge, but he sounded like he wouldn't yield. Rubbish. The young man still looked in disdain. The 2 of them didn't bother much and left very quickly. In a corner near the border of the Great Formation, Jian Wushuang hid in secret. He let out a breath of relief when he saw Lin Tianhao and the handsome young man making a move to leave. Sword Emperor, how do you feel being cornered by 2 young men at the early stage chaotic realm? Great Emperor Ji Luo joked in Blood Mountain Sword. Jian Wushuang rubbed his nose and smiled helplessly. If it wasn't because he had concerns and he couldn't expose his overly powerful strength, he could have killed the 2 of them with a wave. However, he could only flee because of his concerns. He couldn't just take the challenge. Great Emperor Ji Luo, is there a result? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, there is. Great Emperor Ji Luo nodded. Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao looked at Great Emperor Ji Luo. I inspected carefully, but the spacetime surrounding Imperial Peak is very unique. It might be because of the Great Formation covering it. It would be extremely difficult to open up a spacetime tunnel that connects to the outside world from inside Imperial Peak. With my power alone, it will be impossible, Great Emperor Ji Luo said. Impossible? Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao looked shocked. Calm down, Great Emperor Ji Luo smiled. With my power alone, it is naturally impossible. Fortunately, I once obtained a unique spacetime treasure when I wandered in an ancient battlefield. With the assistance of the treasure, I should be able to open up a spacetime tunnel. That's great. Abysmal Saint Master immediately beamed with joy. Ji Luo, I knew you would have a way. Emperor Jiu Qiao looked at Great Emperor Ji Luo. Although Great Emperor Ji Luo wasn't powerful, Emperor Bai wouldn't hesitate to put him in the 4 members experts troop. Plus, there was no objection from any of the Sanctuary Alliance higher-ups. It was because Great Emperor Ji Luo was great with spacetime skills and she would be extremely helpful to the 4 members expert troop. Regardless of if it was when they were besieged by the 6 Great Emperors or then, they had to rely on Great Emperor Ji Luo to set up a spacetime tunnel as their route of escape. The 3 of you make it sound so easy. My spacetime treasure is a one-time item. If I were to use it this time, it'd be gone. So, don't waste my treasure. You definitely have to destroy the Emperor's Supreme Rock or the Golden Whirlpool, Great Emperor Ji Luo said. Don't worry, we will, Emperor Jiu Qiao said. Alright. On Doctrine Propagation Ceremony Day, Ji Luo, you first set up the spacetime tunnel. As for the task of destroying the Emperor's Supreme Rock or the Golden Whirlpool, the 3 of us will take care of it, Abysmal Saint Master said. Alright, Great Emperor Ji Luo nodded. The 4 of them discussed and they had a fully planned strategy. Then they only had to wait for the arrival of Doctrine Propagation Ceremony Day. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 days passed. It was finally the day where Doctrine Propagation Ceremony started. Doctrine Propagation Ceremony in Imperial Peak was only held once over many years. Every time there would be a few higher-ups from Imperial Cabinet, also those in Peak Chaotic Realm who came to teach. The experts in Peak Chaotic Realm were pathetically few, even in 3 Emperors' World. Any one of them who taught would be extremely attractive to all cultivators in 3 Emperors' World. Hence, a large number of cultivators in Imperial Peak were excited when Doctrine Propagation Ceremony started. When the door of Doctrine Propagation Palace opened, the cultivators swarmed in. The opportunity lands in Imperial Peak were normally filled up a large number of cultivators comprehending there, such as the 3 lofty statues. But then there was no one at the 3 statues. The people who were comprehending there had already departed to Doctrine Propagation Palace. Besides the few at the crucial stage or cultivating in seclusion, the other cultivators at Imperial Peak had already gathered in Doctrine Propagation Palace. Even the deacons and cabinet Imperials went there too. In other words, almost 99% of the cultivators in Imperial Peak were gathered in Doctrine Propagation Palace. Of course, Jian Wushuang wasn't one of them. Jian Wushuang continued to stay where he was as he fixed his gaze upon the pinnacle in Imperial Peak, where the Imperial Cabinet located. Finally, swoosh, 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 swoosh. There was a total of 5 figures that plunged out from Imperial Cabinet at the same time. The 5 figures didn't hesitate but plunged towards Doctrine Propagation Palace directly. Jian Wushuang's eyes beamed with excitement when he saw the 5 of them leaving. A total of 5 great emperors who resided in Imperial Cabinet all year round left for Doctrine Propagation Palace, Jian Wushuang muttered. He knew that there wouldn't be many experts of great emperor level, even in 3 Emperors' World. It was already great that there were 20 of them. On top of that, more than half of the great emperors were scattered through various regions in 3 Emperors' World but not within Imperial Peak. It was already shocking enough that there was a total of 8 great emperors guarding in Imperial Peak. Then, the 5 great emperors in Imperial Cabinet went to Doctrine Propagation Palace. Hence, in that short period of time, Jian Wushuang would only have to deal with the 3 great emperors who guarded the Golden Whirlpool all year round. Chapter 2031 Take Action. Jian Wushuang didn't move even after he saw the 5 great emperors exit the Imperial Cabinet to go to Doctrine Propagation Palace. After a short while, dong, dong, dong. There were suddenly ancient yet loud bells ringing from the void afar and they reverberated through the entire Imperial Peak. Jian Wushuang's eyes gleamed when he heard the bell. Doctrine Propagation Ceremony has begun. Jian Wushuang broke into a bloodthirsty smirk. Let's not delay any further. Let's take action, Abysmal Saint Master said in Blood Mountain Sword. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily and finally moved. He didn't leave to the Golden Whirlpool immediately but he first came to the border of Imperial Peak where the Great Formation was. Jian Wushuang waved and Great Emperor Ji Luo's figure appeared in front of him out of nowhere. Great Emperor Ji Luo, we shall hand this to you. The great emperors in Imperial Peak had already gathered at Doctrine Propagation Palace and you already cultivated the concealing skills from Great Emperor Colored Glaze. There shouldn't be anyone who could notice you, Jian Wushuang said. Don't worry about me. The three of you have to take the time to destroy Emperor Supreme Rock or the Golden Whirlpool, Great Emperor Jiluo said solemnly. No problem. Jian Wushuang agreed rather straightforwardly. Then he plunged in the direction of the Golden Whirlpool. Then, in eternal chaotic world far away, in the palace around the void near the dark millstone, the great emperors and sanctuary alliance gathered. They already knew that Jian Wushuang and his expert troop were taking action that day. I hoped that Abysmal Saint Master, Sword Emperor and their troop would succeed. We can't hope. They have to succeed. If they fail, it will be difficult to find another opportunity to take action again. Plus, the dark millstone might be unstoppable forever. Yes, they have to succeed this time regardless of the price they have to pay. The great emperors clenched their fists tightly and they looked extremely solemn. As for Emperor Bai, he sat there in silence but they could see that he had hope in his eyes. Eternal chaotic world was already on the verge of life and death. If Jian Wushuang and his troop could destroy the Emperor Supreme Rock or the Golden Whirlpool to stop the Dark Millstone, eternal chaotic world would stand a chance to step back from leaping off the cliff. Go for it, Emperor Bai sighed. In Imperial Peak in Three Emperors World. In the void above the huge Golden Whirlpool, there was a hidden lofty palace. In the palace there were three people gathered together. The three people were two men and one woman, in which a man and a woman were playing chess together while a red-headed elder watched in silence. No one spoke. Until the brawny man that Jian Wushuang had taken the form of appeared before the Golden Whirlpool, the red-headed elder raised his eyebrows and said, "Hasn't the doctrine propagation ceremony begun? The guys on Imperial Peak should be there. Why is there still someone here?" The man and the woman who were playing chess heard and simply glanced at him. Then the middle-aged man in black smiled and said, "Who knows? That guy might not be interested in doctrine propagation ceremony." The red-headed elder raised his eyebrows but didn't think further. He was just a guy in early-stage chaotic realm. They didn't care much about him. Just then, ridiculous. The red-headed elder suddenly roared and his voice reverberated through the surrounding palace. The red-headed elder's figure quivered and he left to go to the Golden Whirlpool under the palace. Although the man and the woman who was playing chess creased their eyebrows, they didn't move. In front of the Golden Whirlpool, Jian Wushuang had originally been stood there but he had suddenly turned into flowing light to plunge into the Golden Whirlpool to reach for the Emperor Supreme Rock. His speed was extremely fast and he had already arrived in the Golden Whirlpool. Before he got closer to Emperor Supreme Rock, the red-headed elder appeared before him. "You have guts. Don't you know the rules in Imperial Peak?" The red-headed elder looked cold as he bellowed. Imperial Peak had a strict rule. One of the rules indicated that no one was allowed to step foot into the Golden Whirlpool. For whoever violated the rule, the punishment could be a death sentence. Then Jian Wushuang barged into the Golden Whirlpool. Jian Wushuang heard the red-headed elder's confrontation and he looked confused. "Rules? What rules? Why have I not heard about it before?" "You are really a daredevil." The red-headed elder roared and there was an enormous divine might that pressed on Jian Wushuang. If it had been any other ordinary cultivator in early-stage chaotic realm, he would have been shivering in fear. However, Jian Wushuang looked calm and composed. He didn't look uncomfortable at all. "Hee, I shall skip the bullshit." Jian Wushuang broke into a smile and moved. He charged at the red-headed elder like a bullet. "You are courting death." The red-headed elder was pissed off. How dare a cultivator in early-stage chaotic realm fight against him? However, just as the red-headed elder intended to kill the brawny man, who was arrogant and ruthless, he realized that Jian Wushuang had waved and, when he waved, there were two bursts of fierce aura that soared up. Swoosh, swoosh. The two figures appeared before the red-headed elder. They were Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao who were in Blood Mountain Sword. The moment the two of them appeared, their great emperor aura instantly spread, especially Abysmal Saint Master's aura. The boundless darkness shook the red-headed elder and he was terrified. "This is..." The red-headed elder's face grew grave. At the same time, in the hidden lofty palace above the Golden Whirlpool, the man and the woman who were playing chess immediately lifted their heads. *T. Both of them saw each other's change in expression. They didn't care about their chess anymore and instantly turned into flowing lights to plunge to the Golden Whirlpool. In the Golden Whirlpool, Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao had already taken action. Abysmal Saint Master was engulfed in boundless darkness. The boundless darkness even covered the golden luster that was given out by Emperor Supreme Rock. He was the ruler of the darkness. As he waved his sleeve, the boundless power of darkness instantly substantiated into a black spear. The black spear carried boundless extermination aura. The moment it took form, it shook the red-headed elder. As for Emperor Jiao, although his attack was not as terrifying as Abysmal Saint Master's, he was ready to give his all in the battle. It was obvious that he was going to kill the red-headed elder with thunderous measures. Of course, Jian Wushuang took action too. Then he held back his power no more. He instantly let his boundless divine power spread. He didn't use his punching skill anymore, but he drew Blood Mountain Sword. Sword Principle Xian Luo. Blast Rainstorm. Chapter 2032 Drastic Change. The red-headed elder performed a shocking power against the sudden attack. He held a saber in each hand. Both sabers brought churning blood clouds, then, bang, bang. There were two loud bangs. It was a battle of 2 against 1 after all. On top of that, the two were truly great emperors. Especially when Abysmal Saint Master's black spear attacked in madness, the red-headed elder could only retreat and he looked to be in a fix. Before he could steady himself, Jian Wushuang's Sword Principle attacked like a rainstorm. Sword Principle Shen Luo with 4 moves. Mixed Element Spirit was a defense skill. Turn Monstrous at 1 Thought prioritized speed. Blast Rainstorm focused on power. Moved like strong wind with the momentum of rainstorm. Especially with Jian Wushuang's divine power along with his power of ancient tribe bloodline. The power of the stroke was much stronger than Abysmal Saint Master's spear had been. This boy. The red-headed elder stared. Previously he had never cared about Jian Wushuang, who was only in early-stage chaotic realm. Hence, he had only focused on Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao's attacks. But then, just as Jian Wushuang's sword appeared before him, the red-headed elder stared with his eyes wide open. Then he quickly wielded his sabers to block. Dang! There was a loud thud. Just as Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword and the red-headed elder's saber collided, there was a burst of terrifying power. It then had a great impact on the red-headed elder's body. Although the red-headed elder was a great emperor, he quivered and spat a mouthful of blood. His face instantly grew pale and his aura diminished tremendously. Well done, Jian Wushuang. Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Just then, swoosh, swoosh. The man and the woman rushed to where they were at their fastest speed. Their great emperor aura pressed over simultaneously. Jiao and I will hold them back. Jian Wushuang, hurry up and go to destroy the Emperor's Supreme Rock. Abysmal Saint Master roared. All right, Jian Wushuang nodded and didn't hesitate at all. He took a step forward but his figure plunged to the middle of the golden whirlpool, where the Emperor's Supreme Rock was. On the other hand, Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao blocked the man and the woman in the first instant, including the red-headed elder who Jian Wushuang had severely injured. He was also held back by Abysmal Saint Master. The 3 great emperors who guarded the golden whirlpool all year round were stopped while Jian Wushuang had no other hindrance. After a short while he arrived in the depth of the golden whirlpool, which was the 100 zhang tall, mountain-like Emperor's Supreme Rock. Jian Wushuang stood before Emperor's Supreme Rock at a close distance and he felt the pure energy contained in the Emperor's Supreme Rock. The amount of pure energy it carried was far beyond Jian Wushuang's imagination. The vastest pure energy that Jian Wushuang had ever seen was the divine pond of absolute beginning that contained boundless power of absolute beginning. Back then, he had relied on the power of absolute beginning to enhance his divine power tremendously. However, although the pure energy contained in divine pond of absolute beginning was boundless, it was far behind the huge Emperor's Supreme Rock. It was such terrifying pure energy. No wonder it could maintain the dark millstone to revolve in the outside world. As long as I destroy it, the dark millstone will stop. Eternal chaotic world will have a chance to live. However, if it continues to exist, eternal chaotic world will vanish into thin air. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Jian Wushuang had no alternative, so he didn't hesitate. Virum? There was a burst of terrifying sword intention that swept out of Jian Wushuang's body. The sword intention carried a supreme vibe just like the Emperor's sword. Jian Wushuang's divine power flowed out madly with the power of ancient tribe bloodline power. However, just as he was going to perform Sword Principle to destroy the Emperor's Supreme Rock entirely, wow! There was a dark axe shadow that descended without any symptoms. The axe shadow brought about boundless extermination aura. The moment it appeared, it caught Jian Wushuang's attention. This is... Jian Wushuang's face changed. He had yet to store up enough energy for Emperor's Sword Principle, but he swung the stroke anyway. Dang! There was a loud bang and the universe shook. There was divine power as vast as an ocean that instantly swept over. Jian Wushuang quivered and took a step back while his eyes looked in front of him. Under the cover of the boundless ocean, somehow there was an extra figure. He was only 5'2", but his body was muscular. His muscles bulged and gave out a raging vibe. He made people think that there was a living beast. The beast was aiming at Jian Wushuang with his battle axe. It's him? Jian Wushuang fixed his gaze. The beast-like bald man was the strongest person among the 6 great emperors that had besieged him in front of Silver-Winged God Mansion back then. His battle axe skills were terrifying and his strength was fierce. His axe had injured Emperor Jiu Qiao so badly. In terms of power, he was much stronger than Abysmal Saint Master. Then, the beast appeared in the depth of the Golden Whirlpool and attacked him when he was about to destroy Emperor Supreme Rock. How? Why is he here? Jian Wushuang was surprised. It seems that my appearance has surprised Sword Emperor? The beast-like bald man Ling Zong smirked coldly at Jian Wushuang. Even though Jian Wushuang still maintained his appearance of a brawny man, Ling Zong had instantly recognized him. Actually, I have been waiting for you, Sword Emperor. I have been waiting for a very long time. Oh no, not I should say we. As Ling Zong smiled, another 3 figures instantly appeared behind him. The 3 figures gave out an aura that had already reached peak chaotic realm. On top of that, Jian Wushuang had already seen the 3 of them in Silver-Winged God Mansion before. Among the 3, one of them was the purple-haired man with purple eyes, Zichen. Sword Emperor, we have been waiting for you, the purple-haired man with purple eyes, Zichen, spoke. Jian Wushuang's looked distressed. He looked at the scene before him. No matter how stupid a person was, they should be able to tell that he had fallen into a trap. The 4 people in front of him were waiting for him in the middle of the Golden Whirlpool. They were waiting for him to take action to walk right into the trap. Was a trap. Now he was in the middle of the trap. Chapter 2033 Trap. As the 4 of them appeared here, then outside the Golden Whirlpool, Jian Wushuang spread his soul power. As expected, in the void outside of the Golden Whirlpool, there were 5 figures plunging over. The 5 of them were the 5 great emperors who had departed to Doctrine Propagation Palace. If the 5 of them were in Doctrine Propagation Palace, they would at least need a dozen breaths' time to rush there. But then, it had only been a few breaths' time since Jian Wushuang and his troop had decided to take action. It was obvious that the 5 of them were already on their way back. In the middle of the Golden Whirlpool, in front of the Emperor Supreme Rock, there was a total of 4 great emperors including the bald man. Outside the Golden Whirlpool, there were 3 great emperors who were in charge of guarding the whirlpool. The 5 great emperors who were rushing to Golden Whirlpool from Doctrine Propagation Palace. All of them added up, it would make 12 great emperors. 12 great emperors. Regardless of if it were to Sanctuary Alliance or to 3 Emperors World, it was a terrifying power. However, it was taking place in front of Jian Wushuang. It seems that you knew long ago that we would take action today? Jian Wushuang stared at the beast-like man Ling Zong. Of course we did. Actually, not only that, but the Doctrine Propagation ceremony itself is also merely a scheme that we intentionally plotted against you. We purposely gave you an opportunity to take action, Ling Zong scoffed. I see. It turns out that eternal chaotic world is destined to fail this time, Jian Wushuang muttered. Fail? Not that simple, Jian Wushuang. Today the 4 of you shall die here. Ling Zong's voice became cold and he took a huge stride forward. Virum. The dark battle axe appeared in the universe. The moment it appeared, it became the main focus of the universe. Jian Wushuang's face grew dim. When Ling Zong took action, Jian Wushuang immediately wielded his Blood Mountain Sword too. Boundless divine power instantly poured and swept out. Sword Principle Shen Luo Blast Rainstorm. A powerful stroke and it instantly collided with the dark axe shadow. Bang. The noise resounded and both Jian Wushuang and Ling Zong took 1 step back simultaneously. Both of their powers were compatible. What? Ling Zong looked at Jian Wushuang in shock. He remembered that Jian Wushuang had performed a terrifying defense power in Silver-Winged God Mansion back then. The 6 great emperors had joined forces to besiege him for a total of 8 breaths' time and he had remained undamaged. But in terms of true fighting power, Jian Wushuang was about the same as an ordinary great emperor. However, the power that was contained in the sword principle that Jian Wushuang had just performed was compatible with his axe shadow. How long has it been? How could his power increase so tremendously? Ling Zong was first shocked, then he soared with terrifying murderous intention. Let's take action and kill him. The 3 great emperors behind Ling Zong took action simultaneously. Humph. Jian Wushuang humphed coldly and greeted. Jian Wushuang had been fearless against the besiegement of the 6 great emperors back in Silver-Winged God Mansion, let alone the fact that there were only 4 of them then. On top of that, he had cultivated the immemorial celestial body successfully. However, although he was fearless, Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao at the border of the Golden Whirlpool couldn't take it. They were calm and composed when they were dealing with 3 great emperors. But then, the 5 great emperors had already rushed back from Doctrine Propagation Palace and appeared in the Golden Whirlpool. In other words, there was a total of 8 great emperors fighting against Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao then. The 2 of them weren't as invincible as Jian Wushuang. They didn't possess the almost immortal body. How could they possibly resist? After a short while, Emperor Jiao Qiao had already been severely injured while Abysmal Saint Master was not doing any better. Virum. There was a terrifying aura that suddenly spread from Emperor Jiao Qiao. There was a uniquely fierce force that surfaced from Emperor Jiao Qiao's body. The force was the power of Star. Emperor Jiao Qiao had already played the secret skill of Star Palace. However, he had only cultivated the first volume of secret skill of Star Palace successfully and he could only increase his fighting power by 10 times. He still had the lower hand up against the besiegement of so many great emperors. Most importantly, his secret skill of Star Palace could only last for 10 breaths of time. We are in great trouble. What do we do? What do we do? Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao were anxious. They had never expected that the chance that seemed hard to come by would be the trap that the other party set up. They knew that they had gotten into Imperial Peak long ago. How did they know? Abysmal Saint Master didn't understand, but there wasn't time to worry about it. On the other side, Jian Wushuang, who was hemmed in by 4 great emperors, relied on his power and defense power to run out of the middle of the Golden Whirlpool. He was then next to Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao. Virum. Jian Wushuang's divine power soared and his divine body increased in size tremendously. He was almost 100 times bigger in size. On such a humongous divine body, his heads and arms extended one after another. His humongous divine body became a huge spacetime black hole and swallowed everything. He continuously performed sword principles along with unique sword intentions. He blocked all the attacks from the 8 great emperors who were attacking Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao. Do you still want to stop all of us with your force alone just like the last time? Ling Zong saw and he humphed coldly. His eyes were shimmering with anger. Fight all out. A total of 12 great emperors were provoked by Jian Wushuang's actions. To fight against 12 of them alone? Who did Jian Wushuang think the great emperors were? The auras of the 12 great emperors increased to their maximum and all of them were going all out. Abysmal Saint Master, Emperor Jiao Qiao, leave now. Jian Wushuang roared. At the same time he tried his best to resist the attacks of the 12 great emperors. Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao made a prompt decision. They knew if their enemy was well prepared long ago, it would be impossible for them to destroy the Emperor's supreme rock. The most important task then was for them to survive. Hence, they would have to figure it out after they'd escaped. Swoosh, swoosh. Seizing the time when Jian Wushuang blocked the 12 great emperors, Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao Qiao rushed out of the Golden Whirlpool at their fastest possible speeds. As for Jian Wushuang, he fought as he retreated. Jian Wushuang wouldn't be a match to 12 great emperors simultaneously. However, without a doubt, even if the 12 great emperors fought all out, it would be impossible for them to kill Jian Wushuang in a short time. Ever since he had cultivated the first volume of Immemorial Celestial Body, his divine body had become stronger than before. It wouldn't be easy for his divine body to be damaged. Chapter 2034 Escape. Jian Wushuang fought as he retreated and he left the parameter of the Golden Whirlpool. He moved in the direction of Great Emperor Ji Luo. Just as the Golden Whirlpool was experiencing a drastic change in Doctrine Propagation Palace. 99% of the cultivators in Imperial Peak were gathered there. They were originally waiting for the leaders of the Peak Chaotic to arrive. But then, what's going on? Why are the leaders leaving? The Doctrine Propagation ceremony just began and the leaders have yet to start sharing doctrines, but they left. Did something happen? The cultivators were confused. Even the deacons of the Imperial Cabinet were confused. No one knew what had happened. Suddenly there was a vigorous bang that resounded in Imperial Peak. All the cultivators in Doctrine Propagation Palace naturally heard it at the first instant. Simultaneously, they detected the intense divine power that burst out from afar. What's going on? What happened? The cultivators couldn't stay calm anymore. They departed to the void above Doctrine Propagation Palace one after another. When they arrived in the void, they could faintly see the huge movement that had taken place in the golden whirlpool at the end of their vision. The cultivators who were at an early stage and middle stage chaotic realm were astonished. Someone is fighting in the golden whirlpool? Who is it? How dare he? No wonder the 5 leaders left instantly. As they gasped and exclaimed in shock, there was someone who plunged out of the golden whirlpool. The first 2 that appeared were naturally abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiao. As the 2 of them plunged out, they flew in the direction of Great Emperor Ji Luo with their all. Not long after the 2 of them left, Jian Wushuang and the other 12 great emperors who were attacking him left the golden whirlpool as well. They were fighting in madness all the while. The cultivators in Doctrine Propagation Palace were shocked when they saw the sight. 12 leaders? 12 leaders joined forces to besiege one person? Oh goodness, am I seeing this wrongly? And the person seems to be in early stage chaotic realm. How is it possible? He is only in early stage chaotic realm. It would be impossible for him to block one leader. How could he block 12 at the same time? Everyone exclaimed in surprise and disbelief. However, no matter whether they believed it or not, the truth was as such. After they exited the golden whirlpool, Jian Wushuang continued to fight as he retreated. His divine body was extremely huge. He relied on sword principal Shen Luo along with 9 heads and 18 arms to block all the attacks from the 12 great emperors. The 12 great emperors were fighting with their all. Although the 12 great emperors gave their all and their attacks hit Jian Wushuang's divine body over and over again, Jian Wushuang was unbeatable. His aura was maintained at his peak. He had truly blocked 12 great emperors alone. That person? Among the crowd in Doctrine Propagation Palace, Lin Tianhao was staring at the figure who was besieged by 12 great emperors with his eyes wide open. Although Jian Wushuang's divine body increased in size, he had yet to remove his disguise. He maintained his appearance as a brawny man. Lin Tianhao naturally recognized him at first glance. Ah Shou, he's Ah Shou. How is it possible? How could it be him? Lin Tianhao looked on in disbelief and he roared. Ah Shou, it's him? There were people who exclaimed in surprise by the side too. Jian Wushuang had stayed in Imperial Peak for 20 years and he knew some people. These people recognized Jian Wushuang then. They found it unbelievable because they recognized him. From what they remembered, although Ah Shou was brawny, fierce and unreasonable, his power was truly of a cultivator in early-stage chaotic realm, just like them. Especially Lin Tianhao, he had even defeated him once when had fought with Ah Shou. No one had ever been in doubt of Ah Shou's power. They'd thought his power was normal. Maybe Jian Wushuang disguised it too well. Regardless of if it was his power or his character, he had played it flawlessly well. But now, he was fighting against 12 great emperors alone. Even the 12 great emperors couldn't do anything about him. That's just how powerful he was. This guy. Lin Tianhao clenched his fists as he was shocked. Tianhao, he is the person that we ran into at the border of the Great Formation, right? The handsome man next to Lin Tianhao muttered with shock on his face. Before everyone's astonished gazes, Jian Wushuang and his troops moved to the border of Imperial Peak, where the Great Formation was. At the border of the Great Formation, Great Emperor Ji Luo had been concealing her aura and hiding in a corner. There was a slight space-time gap next to her. The gap was very small, but it was made with the price of the ancient treasure. While Jian Wushuang and the other 2 great emperors took action, Great Emperor Ji Luo had been waiting. But then Great Emperor Ji Luo looked distressed. Failed? It's a trap? How could it be? Great Emperor Ji Luo clenched her teeth and her body was quivering. Then, there were 2 figures charging at her from the void in front of her. Abysmal Saint Master, Emperor Jiao, hurry up. Hurry up. Great Emperor Ji Luo obviously had yet to finish her sentence, but she suddenly stopped. Her eyes dilated in shock at that very moment. Virum. Suddenly, there was a fierce aura soaring up behind her. Then, a figure slowly substantiated. The figure was a tall and sturdy middle-aged man who was faintly discernible. The tall and sturdy middle-aged man appeared behind Great Emperor Ji Luo without any sign. Oh, I see. The last fish is here. She even made a space-time tunnel to connect to the outside world. Quite capable, I see, the tall and sturdy middle-aged man muttered. Then, his palms slammed the back of Great Emperor Ji Luo at lightning speed. Great Emperor Ji Luo felt a tug in her heart. She wanted to dodge, but she realized that the palm was locked onto her. She had no choice but to take the palm forcibly. As she greeted the palm, bang! There was a loud bang and Great Emperor's body quivered. She tasted a faint sweetness in her throat and blood flowed out of the corner of her lips. This person is so strong. Great Emperor Ji Luo was shocked. Although she was only considered an ordinary great emperor in eternal chaotic world, she was a great emperor after all, but the other party had injured her so easily with just one palm. Even Abysmal Saint Master couldn't do that. There was no doubt that the person in front of her was a super expert who was no weaker than Ling Zong. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.